Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the June 22nd Madison City Council meeting. At this time, I'd like to invite Pastor Eugene Folks from the Madison Interfaith Council to please come and lead us in the invocation. Please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Pastor.
As I pray according to the Christian faith, you pray according to yours. Let us go before the throne. Eternal Father, our God, we come before you now, this evening, right now, at this very moment, acknowledging you, recognizing you in this room. We thank you now for we are gathered yet again for another council meeting as the elected officials and citizens of Madison come together to address issues that will make this great city even greater. We thank you now for the leadership. Bless each one, the families that's represented. Bless each person in the room who has something to say that will be for the benefit and betterment of Madison. We thank you now for each person. Bless this time that we have together. We hope and we ask your help in letting your spirit fill this atmosphere, that we do it decent and in order as we pay attention to the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. May I have the roll call, please?
Mayor Bartlett?
Slowly, yes.
Say here.
Here.
Council President Robleski?
Here.
Councilmember Beer?
Here.
Councilmember Goodson?
Here.
Councilmember McKay?
Here.
Councilmember Lessman?
Here.
Councilmember White? Councilmember Jackson?
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
Yes, there's one amendment. We're going to be removing items 7A and B. Those are the Madison Police Department presentations, and those will be moved to a later agenda.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. First up is our approval of minutes from the meeting of June 8th, 2026.
Motion to approve.
Second. I have a motion from Mr. Goodson and a second from Mrs. Lessman. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, may I have the vote, please?
Councilmember Goodson?
Aye.
Councilmember Lessman?
Aye.
Council President Robleski?
Aye.
Councilmember Beer?
Aye.
Councilmember McKay?
Aye.
Councilmember White? Councilmember Jackson?
Aye.
Thank you. The minutes are accepted as written. Now we're going to have public comments, and I'm so happy to see all of you here today, and I realize you may be here on a specific subject. If you're here tonight to discuss our public hearing item of short-term rentals, I will respectfully ask you to hold that comment and question until it comes time in the public hearing. Our legal department would like all of those comments and questions regarding short-term rentals to be under the public hearing, okay, in case those are needing to be revisited. So at this time, we do have one person who has signed up for public comments, and it's Mr. Matthews, and I would like to invite you, sir, to come up first and speak to council. How are you, sir? Good, thank you.
Mayor Bartlett, council members. I'm Rod Matthews, District 3, where Billy Goodson is my great representative. I just rise to give you an update on our consumer survey sponsored by the Economic Vitality Committee, Main Street Madison. We're up to 670 respondees, so I want to thank everybody for that, for those efforts, and want to let everybody understand that tomorrow is the last date for the survey. So I'm just appealing to everybody who hasn't taken the survey, please take the survey.
That sounds great. And just a reminder, if you're on Facebook, go to Main Street America, and you can fill out the survey there. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to address a topic that is not involved in a public hearing? If so, please come forward.
Margie Daly. Erica is my council person. Now, the zoning is on a public hearing, correct?
Yes.
Zoning amendments? Okay, so what I would like to talk about is resolution number 2026-227R. appointing Board of Directors of the Redevelopment Authority of the City of Madison. I've noticed that there's a commonality on every one of these members. They all are donators to Mayor Bartlett's campaign. You can easily look it up. It's all documented by the state. I also want to remind people that Cynthia McCullum had embezzled money through the city credit card years ago. I did a FOIA for that. I have all the paperwork. The money was never paid back after the finance director passed away. So I would encourage you to vote no on anyone who embezzled our tax dollars on that one. And I just want to say that what I'm reading, I've been away for a while because I have a sick relative that's been in Huntsville Hospital for a while and has now been moved to Valley View. And I've been watching, and I cannot believe that we have elected a group of oligarchs to our council and mayor. I feel like I am now living in Russia or Cuba, and even Cuba is coming around and getting rid of communism. So it's really disappointing to see this stuff and to see what is going on here with our homes. We don't need corporations buying up our homes. We don't need the things I'm reading on this agenda tonight. We don't need play to pay. If you donate, you get a position on the redevelopment board, maybe the planning board, maybe you get a city job. I mean, this is disgusting, in my opinion. That's my opinion. But it is clearly documented with the state. Every single one of those people that have been appointed on this redevelopment board have given donations. This is a sad state for our city. We need regular people representing us on these boards, not people that paid to have a seat. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to address council? Seeing none, we will close public comments and move into the Finance Consent Agenda and Finance Committee report. Mr. Beer.
Okay, well, the Finance Committee just met. We had a very good meeting, talked through a number of topics that will come up to council later. And then on our consent agenda, we've got a couple things here. We've got disposal of some surplus equipment, which is a couple of lawnmowers that are out of date and no longer in use. We've got acceptance of a grant for $3,500 from Ruth and Lyle Taylor to be used for the Mayor's Youth Council program expenses, which I think that'll fund that for a few years, maybe. Is that what I understood, maybe? Yep, so that's good. We've got a couple of insurance settlements, both for accidents that are listed out there, $19,000, $2,000, less deductibles. Sometimes we're able to get deductibles back in the future. And then a huge shout out, we also have a $40,000 donation from Commissioner Steve Haraway, which is for the animal shelter software upgrades. It's going to help with their cameras, systems, and things like that. And then finally, a $1,000 donation from Grammy, getting real about mental illness for the Madison Police Department Foundation or account, which helps the crisis intervention team. I will say with finance, we've got a really good finance committee, and I'm just couldn't be prouder of the work that we've done and the things that we've learned over the past, 6-7 months about understanding the budget, what's happening, all the expenditures, the ins and outs, the pressure that the city has on the finances. So we'll talk about that more as we need to. But with that, we also got our annual or the monthly expenditures. We've had a chance to review those. So with that, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion for Mr. Beer and a second for Mr. Goodson. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, may I have the vote, please?
Councilmember Beer.
Aye.
Councilmember Goodson.
Aye.
Council President Robleski.
Aye.
Councilmember McKay.
Aye.
Councilmember Lessman.
Aye.
Councilmember White. Councilmember Jackson.
Aye.
Thank you. The consent agenda and Finance Committee report are accepted. Now we'll move into presentation reports, and we'll begin with Mayor Bartlett.
Thank you. We had a really busy Armed Forces Week a couple of weeks ago. A lot of us have participated, in various aspects of that. And last Thursday, I was asked to speak at the Home Builder Scholarship Dinner. And I have to say, it was a really moving evening because the home builders collect and raise funds to provide youth scholarships. And one of the things that I talked about was the new Mayor's Youth Council, which we had funded through a grant that was just approved. So thank you, Council. And I talked to them about what it must be like to be a young person watching some of the TV ads during political campaigns and how a lot of young people couldn't be turned off by politics when they watch TV. And one of the things that I hope we can accomplish through the Mayor's Youth Council is to inspire our youth to engage in local government, to volunteer to serve, to register to vote, and to not be turned off by negative ads. And hopefully a number of them will indeed enter public service. And so I got to meet a number of the scholarship winners after the dinner. And one of the scholarship winners' sisters was 26 years old. And she came up to me and said, "I've never voted in an election, but I'm going to vote in the next one." And she felt the call to vote and exercise that privilege. And so I'm looking forward to getting to meet with more of our youth next fall when the school starts. I also want to thank a lot of members of the public who, when I'm out and about in the public, people come up to me to just say, "Hey, are you the new mayor? Y'all are doing a great job." And I know that sometimes on nights like this, when there are some issues that people feel very strongly, both for and against, sometimes y'all may not be feeling the love, but I can tell you that being out in the public, there are a lot of people who do commend each of you for your energy, your enthusiasm, and what you're doing in public service. And I wanted to give thanks to a person that I met at Costco at lunchtime. One day, a staff member and I went to lunch at Costco. We took advantage of the hot dogs, and as we were lining up to leave, I decided to pick up a box of snacks for the office. And so I picked up this box of snacks, and as we're lining up, and you know the person who's checking off your receipt and making sure you paid for what's in your cart, well, the sky falls out, and it's just a torrential rainstorm. And as we're standing in line, and everyone's waiting and looking at this rain, wondering if it's going to pass, and I'm verbally telling the staff member that I'm with, "Okay, I've got a TV interview in 30 minutes, and I'm calculating how fast we can get to the car, and I can blow dry my hair afterwards because the sky is just falling." And this lovely lady standing in front of me had an umbrella in her cart, and she overheard our conversation, and she gave us her umbrella so that we could make this interview on time. And I just want to say thank you to her publicly. I have your umbrella, but I also want to just say that is what makes Madison so special, that we have people like that who just take care of each other, and I am just so thankful for her. I want to remind everyone that this Thursday we have a children's parade related to our America 250 celebration down in Home Place Park, and it will end with a free concert at Home Place Park this Thursday evening. And next Monday, I am very excited to announce that we will be having a ribbon cutting at the new locker rooms at the back of Toyota Field at 10 a.m. So I'd hope to see a number of you there next Monday. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mayor. District 2, please.
Okay, thank you. So a couple things today. Number one, Rod had mentioned the survey. I did it the other day. Please go online and do it. It's actually a pretty engaging survey. It makes you think about what's going on and where you might want to go. It doesn't take a ton of time, but it's really informative. So hopefully everybody can have a chance to do that. I was traveling last week, so I didn't get a chance to attend our work sessions live. But if you don't know, they're recorded. I want to give a huge shout out to the joint work session that was done last week between Mary Beth with Planning and the Board of Education that talked about the growth policy, where we're going, and the Board of Education's needs. A lot of times people ask me what's going on with the city, and that work session was incredibly informative, so I appreciate that getting put together. And I encourage you all to go watch it. To Ms. Daly, I'll just tell you, keep your family in our prayers. And Valley View was a center that helped my father-in-law a great deal. It means quite a bit to us, so we'll keep you in our prayers, and I'm very thankful for that facility. I'm going to just give a little bit of feedback. As Mayor Bartlett had mentioned, we've got a ton of inquiries and engagement from the public, which is great. If you're in District 2 and you emailed me specifically, I've tried to email you back. And then for others, I said, hey, I'm going to do a little bit of address just to kind of hit high level some of the comments and responses of just things to frame tonight's discussion, which I know will be in depth. I'm not going to go into the weeds and all this. I'm going to save a lot of that for as we get into the actual discussion. But one of the big things that folks have asked for as they've heard about what's on the agenda later with zoning and short-term rentals is time. They said, why not just take more time on this? This is coming up so quickly. And just for clarity, we have had a considerable amount of time to go through this issue. We have had multiple work sessions. We've had multiple months. I often say most of the work in council doesn't happen up here. It doesn't happen in the work sessions. It happens in all the days in between. The amount of time and resources and energy and research and conversations is incredible, and it has helped inform us. Just about every point that I know will come up later has been considered. There's a few that did come up that hadn't fully been vetted, so since then we've vetted more of those. So one of the things I've always felt what's important with council and any government is that we make decisions. I think that we will not always be perfect, but we always have a chance to amend and change things later. Nothing we do is ever set in stone, although certainly inaction creates a tremendous amount of difficulty. I don't think council should do inaction. I think we should continue to make decisions and bring all the information forward that we have. The other thing I would ask for consideration as people consider comments tonight is a lot of what I'm hearing is what if? What if we allow short-term rentals? And I would ask you to frame that as not what will happen if we allow it, but what has happened. These have been in our community for a number of years. They've been taxpayers for a number of years. So as we look at the concerns and the challenges that are out there, what I'd ask you to consider is what has happened, not what might happen. I think that's just an important point to consider. There is a huge, I know there's a lot of people here that are going to speak probably on both sides of it. And people also ask me in the emails, why are you ignoring this survey or this, that? Everything we get is a data point. So a survey is a data point. The conversations, the work session, the subsequent surveys, all the interactions, all the discussions that we had with legal, all the review of what we do with different cities, those are all data points. We take all those into consideration. I do believe that council's job and my role in being elected, and Mayor Bartlett, you had mentioned, sometimes we get a lot of heat. I also remind myself we signed up for this, like we volunteered to do this. But it is our role and responsibility to know the most of what's going on. I know for a lot of people this is brand new. You just heard about it 2 weeks ago from a news story. But for us, again, it's been going on a long time, and we've committed ourselves to learning all that we need to do. So again, I think there'll be a lot of discussion tonight. I appreciate everybody's engagement. I appreciate the phone calls most of all. I think any chance to just have a conversation with somebody is incredible. I've learned a lot, and I respect everybody's opinion on the number of things. So with that, I will close my time here.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beer. Mr. Goodson, District 3.
So for District 3, last Thursday night was one of the first Third Thursday events that they've had down there of this year. It looked a lot like today, all day, and kind of kept thinking, okay, this is going to get canceled. I want to really commend downtown for pulling that off, and I think it was a really great event. I think the crowd was dampened a little bit, not physically dampened from the rain, but held down a little bit from people who maybe had to make dinner plans when they weren't sure what was going to happen, and I appreciate that. But I want to just give a big shout out to all of our downtown people. Rod and Brenda were riding around trying to get more surveys done. Businesses were just really rocking it. We were able to have the green cups. It was just a wonderful opportunity I saw a lot of people stopping and talking, and to me, that's something we need a whole lot more of, people just talking to their neighbors, to their friends, meeting new neighbors and meeting new friends, and it was just a great opportunity. I invite you the third Thursday of July to come out with us again and have a great time, and it was really neat. The other thing I want to talk about is many of us serve on additional committees as part of our council duties. One of those that I'm really thrilled and privileged to serve on is the Emergency Management Agency for Madison County. Jeff Birdwell, if you don't know him, sits at the back of the room often. Jeff is the executive director, I think, for the EMA, getting together once a month, and they talk about the plans that are going on. I don't know how many people might have known this, but last week there was a train derailment exercise only. There were over 120 people that participated in that exercise. There were 10 agencies that participated. It was a massive undertaking that the EMA agency brought to this neighborhood, and to see how organizations work together. Our own fire department got to participate. They got to, dig or cut through some concrete, simulating, what would happen and if someone was trapped by concrete and stuff. But it's these kinds of exercises that really show the capabilities that we have in this community, both Madison City, Madison County, Huntsville, and our other surrounding cities that all come along. And EMA, the other thing that I'm really thankful for is I get all of their weather updates. There's a place I'll show you, I'll post it tonight, where you can go and get more weather updates. It really helps me. I actually send it to my work because they're interested in it, and they keep an eye on the weather as well. But just knowing what's going on in our weather and just the resources that are available to us through EMA is just a phenomenal resource to have in this community. And I really applaud the professionals like Jeff and others in his organization that really make that a quality organization to support and belong to. That's it for me.
Thank you, Mr. Goodson. Mr. McKay, District 4?
Yeah, just one thing tonight. I have office hours this week here at City Hall, 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. on Wednesday, the 24th. It's in conference room 130. All are invited. That's it.
Very good. Thank you, sir. District 5, Mrs. Lessman?
Yes, I got to attend the Huntsville Hospital Foundation luncheon last week with the Emerald Society. I just want to thank them for everything they do in our community. We celebrated Sarah Savage Jones's retirement, and so she was there, and just want to tell her congratulations. A reminder, just like Mr. Matthews stated, the survey for the Main Street Madison, very important. I took it a couple days ago as well, asking, what kind of stores you'd like to see downtown, what do you like about downtown? So we really want your feedback, and that ends tomorrow. So tomorrow's the last day to do that survey. Go to Main Street Madison's website, and you'll find it there. The Madison Chamber is now taking vendor applications for Celebrate Madison. That they've just opened those up. If you want to go to the Madison Chamber website and apply there. I'd also like to thank the many emails and calls that I've received for both sides of the issue that we will be talking about tonight. And we always appreciate public input. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lessman. Mr. Jackson, District 7.
Yes, so a couple things. First, the Beautification and Tree Board is meeting this Tuesday, tomorrow, at 6 p.m. at Madison Meeting Hall in room 105. And the board still has spots open, so if anyone's interested in maybe getting involved, come check us out. Also, it's happening right now, but there was an art reception at the library put on by Madison Arts Alliance for the work of Sean Donahue. And that'll be on display in the library for the next few weeks, so go check it out next time you're there.
Great. Thank you. And I have no new business tonight, so we'll move into board and committee appointments. And our first is the resolution number 2026-227-R.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Beer and a second from Mrs. Lessman. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, may I have the vote, please?
Councilmember Beer?
Aye.
Councilmember Lessman?
Aye.
Councilmember President Robleski?
Aye.
Councilmember Goodson?
Aye.
Councilmember McKay?
Aye.
Councilmember White? Councilmember Jackson?
Aye.
Thank you. Those folks are accepted to the board. And now we'll move into public hearings. And is A on here? A is on here? Okay. And so what we're going to do is our staff is going to lead us through the public hearing, and you will have an opportunity to ask questions after the presentations. Thank you.
Before you, you have proposed ordinance number 2026 2026-168, and this was a request for zoning of 35.6 acres that is currently unincorporated, and later in your agenda, you have the annexation request. The applicant has asked to withdraw this application. Because the hearing has already been advertised, our normal practice is to see if anybody spent the time to come and provide comment. And so we would suggest that you do open the public hearing and see if there is that comment.
Absolutely. Is there anyone here that is here to address Ordinance 2026-168, and that is the property on Hardiman Road? Okay, come on forward.
Margie Daly, Erica is my councilwoman. I only am curious if this is the same land with the Bergreen brothers or if it's attached to it. That's all, that's my only question. Because I was worried that we're zoning all around the farmer and then we're going to take his land because three sides are, it's nothing to do with the Bergreen brothers.
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? All right. Thank you, Ms. Broen.
Yes, given the applicant's request to withdraw the application, I would recommend a motion to postpone indefinitely.
Okay. So you need a vote on that?
So moved.
Second?
I'm sorry. Whoa. You were the motion.
Motion to postpone indefinitely.
Okay, and you were the second. And Ms. Lisa, you got that? It happened very fast.
Can we repeat, please?
So a motion from Mr. Goodson and a second from Mr. Jackson to postpone indefinitely this action item.
Got it.
May I have the vote, please?
Councilmember Goodson.
Aye.
Councilmember Jackson.
Aye.
Council President Robleski.
Aye.
Councilmember Beer.
Aye.
Councilmember McKay.
Aye.
Councilmember Lessman.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Thank you. This is postponed indefinitely. Moving on to item B.
Yes. This is proposed ordinance number 2026-173, and this is for a comprehensive update to the city's zoning ordinance. This item has been considered by the Planning Commission, and they were unanimously supporting the recommended action. So the zoning ordinance provides all of the development standards for any type of development within the city. We had a number of goals with this project. We wanted to incorporate our new comprehensive plan guidance into this document. Of course, complying with state law, improve the usability of the zoning ordinance, and to adjust standards to address concerns or achieve objectives. There's lots of changes that had occurred since the last time the zoning ordinance was adopted. A simple example would be doggy daycare. That didn't exist, 5 years ago maybe? And then we've seen a number of those kinds of projects come forward, and it wasn't listed in our zoning ordinance as a use. And so it's very common that over time zoning ordinances get changed to address new uses. EV charging stations would be another example. We had a lot of public input on this document, or opportunity for that. We had 6 different meetings with our Planning Commission that were available to the public. All of the versions of the various chapters were made available on our website. We also had a work session with the City Council. We provided notification to the community. We held an open house on the document and took comments, and then we provided responses to those comments, which was provided to our Planning Commission. This is a sample page from the zoning ordinance with respect to the district standards. This is the R1A single-family district. We changed the format of how information was presented for our different districts in this document. We've added a lot of graphics and improved the graphics, and we did some reorganization to improve the usability of the document. Some notable changes with respect to districts. We do not have very many properties that are zoned R1B, and so we're going to collapse that into R1A. We've created a new district called RC1, which is a single-family conservation district. And this is a district that's in between the density of R2 and R1A or R1B. And this was in response to some queries we had had from the development community back in 2018, actually. We have one large property that's zoned as our medical center district, which is where the hospital is and the Target is, and that really could be zoned B3, which is our commercial district, so we're recommending eliminating the MC district. And then we have an R1C district that isn't being used, and so there's no need to carry that forward in the zoning ordinance. We've increased the open space requirements in almost every single district that we have in our code. We've added code enforcement language to make it easier for us to get compliance and to give our code enforcement officers better tools to improve the aesthetics of the community. We have added language at the request of the Huntsville Airport and certainly strengthening the document from their perspective. Redstone Arsenal is a new entry into our zoning ordinance. The Arsenal went through a joint land use study in 2019, 2020, and one of the outcomes of that was model regulations that cities should adopt in their zoning ordinance to take into consideration the mission of the Arsenal and how land use development outside of the Arsenal might impact them in a negative way. So we've added that language into the zoning ordinance. We've added some language about parking flexibility, addressing the idea of shared parking, and if there's bicycle parking provided above and beyond what would normally be required, trying to incentivize so we're not necessarily having vast expanses of asphalt parking lots that are underutilized, but still making sure we have adequate parking because we are an auto-oriented community and will probably always be so. We improved our language and our standards related to accessory structures, which could be fences, pergolas, things that people put in their yard, storage sheds, that type of thing. We've modified the language related to accessory dwelling units, some simple things like making sure the accessory dwelling unit architecture is compatible with the home architecture, and most homeowners are going to want to do that, but we really didn't have that language in our code. We also added a limitation on the size of accessory dwelling units. We had seen a couple of accessory dwelling units come in that were the size of a regular house. One was like over 2,500 square feet, which was a bit alarming. And so we've added that change in there. And then we made some use update changes. I used the doggy daycare as one example. That use didn't exist, 8 years ago. So we've added that. But we've added some other uses, and we've also restricted uses. So under our current code, you could have a car wash in B2 zoning. This new code would not allow that. And that's just based upon feedback that we were hearing from the community. And then finally, we've added some language related to environmental protection and infrastructure with regards to wetland protection, trying to preserve existing vegetation along property lines where you might see, mature trees and that type of thing. So the planning, as I mentioned, the Planning Commission is supporting this unanimously, as is staff. Since the Planning Commission hearing, we haven't received any additional public input. We did make a few little tweaks to the document, which were shown in legislative draft as a result of the Planning Commission conversation, and happy to answer any questions you may have after or before the public hearing.
Okay, thank you. Well, we'll go ahead and can we go ahead and entertain a motion and then open it up for the public hearing?
Motion to approve.
Okay, and then that way I've got got the
Second.
folks down. All right, so I've got a motion for Mr. Beer and a second for Mr. Goodson, and we'll be coming back to that in a few minutes. But at this time, I would like to open the public hearing. If there's anyone who would like to address this particular subject, please come forward.
Margie Daly, Erica White is my councilwoman. Well, Mary Beth, you made it sound so nice, like wrap a present, put a bow on it, and it's wonderful. But when you read through it, there's a lot of overreach in it, a lot of overreach. 3-410 states that the city may require demolition. So now the city can decide if your home should be demolished. That's in this ordinance. 37-1. Manufactured homes. Now, we do have a nice trailer manufactured home on Slaughter Road, and it's well-kept, and I don't see why that's a detriment to anybody. But yet, it says manufactured home, if it's vacated, they're not allowed to rent it out, there's no replacement. So we are now taking private property rights, because that park has been there for decades at least. I mean, I'm here 23 years. It's been here, it's well-kept, the people are nice, they're good neighbors. This is overstepping. We're taking property rights. 4-11, solar energy collectors. So now we're going to have solar farms in our city? Okay? Also there, we have windmills. Now, I know Madison City likes to kill birds, but you know, birds are monogamous creatures. They stay in a family unit their whole life. Geese, any type of birds. And yet, we want to put up windmills, and it actually states we could put them in our backyard if we wanted. That's in here. I don't get it. I don't know why you guys want to kill all the birds. I really don't. Because windmills kill birds, as well as the geese they want to kill. Okay. 415, storage of certain vehicles without current license plates cannot be parked or stored other than in a completely closed building. Well, let me tell you something. You can have a car on your property, on your private property, without a license plate. The law is it only needs a plate once it goes on the street, to drive on the street. You do not need your registration sticker on that plate or the plate on the car. That is your private property. We are overstepping here. Way big overstep, overreach of government. That's where our private property, I can't keep my car there if I'm not driving it on the street. They came and gave me a ticket, and I had my plate sitting in my vestibule for the first time I drove the car, and yet I got a ticket when it was fully insured, fully registered, and that code officer cannot even look it up. So there is no right to put this in there. No right, no legal right. Then you got that the veterinarians can't board our dogs. You know, I only leave my dog at the veterinarian. You know, I have 3 dogs. I love my little chihuahuas. And I won't board them anywhere else, otherwise they're coming with me. But why? Why are we taking the right of the veterinarians to board our animals? I don't understand it. I mean, it sounded all nice when Mary Beth talked about it, but all of what I'm saying is in there. And I'm especially disturbed that you think a code enforcement guy can come on the property, give a ticket, not being able to check whether the car is legal. It also says trailers, RVs, and all that, so if you don't have the license plate on there, yet he cannot check if maybe the license plate is in your vestibule or on your dining room table or in a file because you haven't driven the RV. So it has to be in an enclosed closure. So I think there's a lot of overreach in this zoning ordinance. I mean, I can't believe this is getting passed. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to address council on this particular subject? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Oh, right? Yep, we'll close the public hearing. And again, we had a motion from Mr. Beer and a second from Mr. Goodson. May I have the vote, please? Oh, wait.
I would like an opportunity to address the comments that were made.
Oh, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, my apologies.
First of all, we're always excited when a resident will read the zoning ordinance, so wanted to thank Ms. Daly for taking the time to do that, in all seriousness. With respect to the section she mentioned on 34-10 about demolition and that the city could require that, if you read that section, it states that if a structure is deemed unsafe and a hazardous condition, and this is Chapter 3, by the way, is the non-conforming section. So this section deals with properties that are non-conforming. Either they were built without permits, they no longer comply with code, or it's a use that was not allowed by the city and got bootlegged in some fashion. So this whole chapter is trying to deal with properties that might present a health situation or be harmful. And so it's a last resort for the city to require demolition, but it is predicated on the building being deemed unsafe.
And could I just kind of clarify and ask, I mean, even if that were to happen, there's a process that occurs well before that, which is a number of reports and examinations and inspections well before that could ever happen.
Yes, exactly. And the section 3-7-1 that she also referenced related to manufactured homes is also in the non-conforming section. And so we're talking about properties that are not compliant. Section 4-11 on solar energy is an existing section in our current zoning ordinance. It's been in the zoning ordinance for a couple of decades. We did not adjust that section. We haven't had complaints on it. It was presumably intended to address people who might want to put solar panels on their roof, but that was an existing section. She mentioned the storage of vehicles. She referenced 4-15. It's actually 4-14. That also is an existing section of our zoning ordinance, and it states that if you do not have license plates on your vehicle, that they shouldn't be stored in public view. This is really geared towards those folks who, you know, on the rare occasion, somebody might be parking an inoperable vehicle, which is why it may not have plates on their lawn, and the city is wanting to not have that aesthetic in the community. But it is an existing code section. We did not change it in any way, and it is one that our code enforcement officers do use. And her last comment was related to veterinarians not being able to board a dog. If there is a dog under their care that needs to spend the night, then that is allowed. But to have the vet operate as just a boarding facility is not currently allowed under the existing zoning ordinance, and we carried that forward. As I mentioned, we did add animal doggy daycare. I don't know, do cats go to daycare? I don't know. Anyway, but doggy daycare, and so it is possible if, you know, there was an existing vet and they wanted to add a daycare operation that they could somehow expand their business or create a new LLC or something like that. So we think that there's opportunities for that. Thank you.
I will clarify that cats want to be left alone. Any other comments or questions for Mary Beth? Okay, may I have the vote, please?
Councilmember Beer.
Aye.
Councilmember Goodson.
Aye.
Council President Robleski.
Aye.
Councilmember McKay.
Aye.
Councilmember Lessman.
Aye.
Councilmember White. Councilmember Jackson.
Aye.
Thank you, the ordinance passes.
A big shout out to our planning commission who spent a lot of time on this, and we really couldn't have gotten through it without them.
Yes, please extend our thanks to them as well. Wait, but you're not going, oh, are you just going to?
We're going to.
Okay, team tag over there. Okay, so we're going to move into the two items that everyone is probably here for, these two ordinances, and our city attorney and our Director of Development Services will be guiding us through this process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, we are going to present on items C and D under public hearings together. And item C is proposed ordinance 2026-175. This amends the newly adopted zoning ordinance to provide that short-term rentals are allowed as a conditional use. And the first reading on this ordinance occurred in May. And then we'll also be explaining and considering ordinance number 2026-201. This ordinance establishes companion regulations that will go in the main city code related to the operation of short-term rentals and the permitting of short-term rentals. And this was also presented for a first reading in May. So we're just going to present the entire package here before public comments are opened because we want everybody to have the full picture of the full proposal before public comments begin. But there will need to be two separate votes on these items following the public hearing.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So this evening, we're going to go through a number of points about this proposal. We're going to recap some of the background discussions that led to tonight's proposal. We're going to share with you the content of both of the zoning ordinances. The zoning ordinance amendment, 2026-175, that addresses the proposed locations for short-term rentals. And then the next ordinance addresses the regulations that have more to do with the operational and permitting standards. Then our assistant city attorney is going to guide us through some of the details of that, including what's included in the permit application form, what some of the key operational rules or proposed to be, as well as the enforcement and penalties that could go along with violations of these proposed ordinances. Following that, the floor will be open for public comment and council discussion, and then there will be votes on adoption. Next slide, please. Trouble connecting. Oh, it might be off. Okay. Oh, it moved. Okay. So before we dive into the content of the ordinances, I wanted to briefly recap some of the major points that we took into consideration based on the months of discussion, both at the council and planning commission level. There have been multiple public work sessions, multiple internal and external meetings, and then we've also received feedback and recommendations from the planning commission itself. So one of the most important points of this ordinance is that it preserves over 99% of the city's housing supply for traditional single-family residential use. We're aware that many cities that have adopted short-term rental regulations and have allowed them in their cities have run into problems with the housing supply dwindling and hurting the affordable housing stock in the city. So this proposal caps the number of permits at 190 citywide. That's less than 1% of the city's estimated housing supply, and that is aimed at protecting the long-term housing supply in Madison neighborhoods. The regulations that go along with this are geared toward making sure that some of the potential negative effects of having a short-term rental, such as maybe some increased traffic or parking or noise, are curtailed from the get-go. This ordinance also provides that people who decide to take out a short-term rental permit will pay lodging taxes because this is a transient occupant type of use. This ordinance also provides some health and safety regulations, both for the guests who may stay at a short-term rental and for the neighbors by ensuring that code compliance is met, and Shelby will go into the details of some of that later. The legal framework for these proposals tonight comes both from the state zoning powers and from the council's general authority to regulate for the health, safety, and welfare. So that's why we have one part that's addresses the zoning and the locations and the land use, and a separate part that goes in the general city ordinance. Okay. And with that, I will go into describing the first ordinance on this that has to do with this proposal, and this is Ordinance 2026-175 that amends the newly adopted zoning ordinance. And what you see here is a selection from the table of permitted uses in the zoning ordinance. And as we've discussed before, if a use is not expressly permitted in the city's zoning ordinance, then it's not allowed. So short-term rentals are being proposed as a conditional use, and that conditional use would have to be approved by staff if an applicant has met the requirements for short-term rentals that are proposed for the companion regulations. So this ordinance amends the table of uses to provide that short-term rentals could be a conditional permitted use in residential districts in the city, as well as mixed use, agricultural, and traditional neighborhood development districts. This ordinance does not permit short-term rentals in the business districts and industrial districts of the city. This ordinance adds a definition for short-term rentals, and it defines the period of short-term as up to 180 calendar days. That's the maximum permitted in state law for charging lodging taxes, and it's also what a couple of other cities in Alabama have done when they're regulating short-term rentals, such as Huntsville and Mobile. So this definition excludes your traditional hotels, motels, like bed and breakfasts, and then your standard long-term leases, say for an apartment or a house. This ordinance also revises the regulations for accessory dwelling units. So currently in the zoning ordinance, if you have an accessory unit, which commonly may be a separate garage apartment, then anybody who lives there has to be related to the family that lives in the house, by blood marriage or adoption is the legal language. But this ordinance, based on some feedback from the Planning Commission, when we held the public hearing, they were interested in allowing these types of units to be rented as short terminals. So this ordinance provides that revision. So those units could be eligible. So the Planning Commission considered this proposal back in April, and they voted 5 in favor and 2 against to recommend that short terminals may be permitted in this manner to you, as long as there were companion regulations that would go along with them. So now I'm going to turn it over to Shelby to describe the proposed regulations in the separate ordinance.
So we have as well up for y'all's consideration ordinance number 2026-201. And an overview of that is the following sections. So sections 1 through 3 of that ordinance, we establish the legal basis, define the 20-plus different terms that may come up in the regulations of short-term rentals, such as operator, transient, local contact person, and that is unlawful to operate without compliance. In section 4, it determines the allowable dwelling types, such as single-family, detached and attached, multifamily units, mobile homes on permanent foundations, and accessory buildings. And it also caps it at 190 permits total, 0.75% of the housing supply within the city, which can be changed every year or so, depending on council. Section 5 has permit procedures. So it has the STR operational permit. It determines, lists out the procedures needed to obtain one, and that a business license is required before advertising your STR rental. Existing operators have 90 days to comply from the effective date of the ordinance. There's also a $350 non-refundable application fee and an annual inspection required. Permits are also non-transferable. Section 6 requires a business license. Only one is needed per operator, regardless of number of properties. Section 7 through 9 governs renewals, rules, and local contact person information. So annual renewal applications are required 30 days before the expiration of the permit. Every STR unit is required to have a local contact person on file, whether it be the operator or someone else. And we'll go a little bit more in detail into that in the next slide. And no food service is allowed for guests or food prep beyond beverages in an STR unit. And sections 10 through 11 governs occupancy, parking, and revocation procedures. So the occupancy is set by the building inspector / fire marshal, 1 parking space per bedroom. There's also no overnight street parking for guests, and permits are revocable for fraud, violations, or breach of the peace. So, in follow-up to that, we also have an STR permit form application. As a part of that application form, the following you see on the slide are required, such as owner and operator info. This will be the owner's name, address, email, and phone number, the operator, if it's different from the owner, or authorized agent, a local contact person details. This is somebody who is accessible 24/7 and can be on the property within 30 minutes, and emergency contact information if other than the owner. We also have the property information, so street address, unit number, property ID, the type of building, so if it's a single, 2-story or multifamily unit, total STR dwelling units on the property in the event there's multiple, such as an apartment complex, the number of bedrooms and sleeping rooms to determine for occupancy, and total parking spaces on the property. And as part of that, we also have the building safety checklist on there, so these are required within the building as needed, smoke and CO detectors, operable egress windows, hand and guardrails, GFIC protection, fire extinguishers, and emergency exit diagrams being displayed, so a map of exit from the building. We also have in the permit an HOA declaration. On the permit, applicants are asked to initial an option A, whether or not the property is subject to an HOA, to confirm that it's not, or option B, whether the HOA, the property is subject to an HOA governance, and then they have reviewed and confirmed that the STR rental activity is expressly permitted under their applicable covenants, conditions, and restrictions. So as a part of the permit application, we have an HOA attestation and such. It's also included in the sworn owner affidavit, where they will certify that they have notified adjacent property owners and the HOA of their STR if the permit is issued. So as part of our neighbor notification letter. And they also swear that the initial statement concerning the HOAs is true, accurate, and made of their own personal knowledge. That is along with 14 other acknowledgments covering accuracy, compliance with the ordinance, the neighbor notification, insurance, parking, etc. As a part of the permit application, we have some required submittals, such as the notarized application with the sworn affidavit, the site plan survey showing the parking, as well as photos of the property and parking, and also a building permit application if needed, and also a business license application. Although that would be separate from this permit, they must also apply for a business license to operate the STR. That would be through our normal business license application. As a part of this, so some of the key operational rules, the max STR permits will allow is 190. That's under the 0.75% of the housing supply. A part of it is also the $350 application fee. This number we have come to after talking to our building official about what amount is needed in order to review applications, including inspections and whatnot, and that fee would cover that. Although there will be a separate fee for business licensing, which will then be a flat fee, I believe, of $150 or so. So it comes out to being $500 total for an STR with the business license. That's separate, though. We also have the local contact person, so they are supposed to be 30 minutes away or be able to come to the property within 30 minutes in the event a issue is happening, a party is happening, an incident, because there are STR owners who might be out of state, out of the city, and that way we have somebody who will come and shut something down if needed. We need to be able to have somebody that will be there quickly in the event something were to happen. And 1 year, the permit will last 1 year and need to be renewed within a year from when the permit's being issued. It would be on a different timeline from business licensing, gets issued every January or so. This would just be whenever the permit gets issued, you would need to apply within the year. Some other operational requirements, we have in here no exterior signs or alterations on the outside of the building identifying it's a short-term rental. We do require the STR permit number be on all online and print listings. That way we can verify someone has a permit and they are acting within their permit. And that way, in the event someone has an issue with an STR, they have a permit number they can direct us to so we can keep in a record for compliance and whatnot. We also require that the ordinance itself, the short-term rental ordinance, the rules and regulations that come with our permit application, and the local contact info be posted on site within the STR rental unit. So that way renters have somebody local they can contact in the event an issue would arise, and have the permit number if they need to reach out to us as well or have a complaint or need to access some kind of information. We do not allow overnight street parking for transient guests, and we do require adjacent owners be notified in writing at permit issuance. So once someone receives an STR permit, as a part of the affidavit, they attest that they will send certified mail to adjacent property owners about their operating STR. That will include their permit number, their name, the local contact info. In the event neighbors have issues with the STR unit or a guest, they have information on that unit to report it to us, the city, as needed, or report to be able to contact if they have problems with the SDR unit. As a part of it, we also have revocation grounds, so fraud or misrepresentation in the application. So if someone actually has an HOA that forbids short-term rentals, we can revoke their permit under fraud or misrepresentation, attesting that their HOA is okay with it. False statements in any transaction. Revocation grounds, any violation of this ordinance, operating in an unlawful manner, breach of peace that threatens the public health or safety, the failure to maintain required insurance, and any outstanding taxes or municipal code violations on the property. So we also have the enforcement and penalties. So we have a kind of three-strike system. If we have 3 valid complaints within 12 months, we can suspend their short-term rental permit. So that would be any kind of complaints the city receives from neighbors or anybody, and we've gone through the process of validating when those complaints are substantiated, then they become valid complaint and would add up to the system. That would leave 1 suspension at 6 months. Second suspension would be if there is another complaint or so after that within 2 consecutive years, they would get suspension of a year of their permit. And after the 3rd suspension, it would be permanent revocation. So they would not be allowed to operate an SDR at that property. Part of the violation process, non-compliance, you will get a citation, an appearance in municipal court, written notice from the code enforcement, magistrate, or police officer. That will also have a correction order with a specified compliance, what we're looking for with a timeline. This is also possible, you may be fined or imprisonment per Madison City Code. So with our code of fines, fees, regulations concerning violations, these violations can also constitute a public nuisance per se in the event we need to go to circuit court to stop something or whatnot if there is a dangerous condition or such. And each day of a violation equals a separate offense. So there are appeals to the process, so we're not just taking away someone's permit without hearing them out. We have operators may appeal the suspension or revocation to City Council. They must file written notice with the city clerk within 15 days of the notice of suspension or revocation. And the City Council will schedule the appeal to be heard within 60 days at the next regularly scheduled City Council meeting. That way we can ensure that full due process rights are applied throughout and whatnot before taking away anybody's permit or such. Okay. That guess we'd like to open up for public comments.
Okay, so at this time, would like to open the floor for public comments, and I will ask everyone to please be respectful. We are all friends and neighbors here, and somebody might say something that you disagree with, and I would just prefer that you hold any outbursts or displays to yourself and give the speaker at the podium your attention. Should I have a motion first, or? No, not necessary. Okay, so we'll go ahead and I do have several cards that have been filled out, so I'd like to call on these folks first. But anyone who's here that wants to address council will absolutely have the opportunity. But I'm going to go through these cards, and I'm going to first invite Mr. Hanu Karapellam to please come forward and share his thoughts. Hello, sir.
Hello, how are y'all doing? Hanu Karapellam, 229 Watterson Way. Mayor Bartlett, Council President Robles-Ski, and members of the council. I'm here to talk about short-term rental proposed ordinance, and you all know me. I've lived in Madison for 26 years. Harvard Business Review published research showing that as Airbnb listings increase in a city, rents go up, pricing out renters, working families, young families who want to call Madison home, and the workforce that keeps our city growing. Alabama's reputation has tanked already with the attacks on voting rights, fair representation, taking away public schools' money, as handouts to private school vouchers, stripping faculty senate governance from our four-year public universities, and pushing policies that create second-class citizens. So we do not need an ordinance that hands our neighborhoods over to corporate STR investors. 75% of survey respondents were concerned about short-term rentals in single-family neighborhoods. This council should listen to them and write an ordinance that targets corporate STR investors, not individual owners. Full stop. The problem is the outside investor, the corporations, the real estate fund, the absentee landlord buying up family homes as commercial assets. They are never there. They care only about the nightly rental rate. So say yes to individual owners, veterans, retirees, seniors, residents, using properties they own to make ends meet. Say no to corporate STR investors and special interests. I'm running for Alabama State House District 4, which includes Madison. I believe in an Alabama we can afford lower cost, stronger public schools, real health care. Alabama has no state law, as far as I couldn't find, as Alabama has no state law requiring STR platforms to protect our neighborhoods and families. So when I go to Montgomery in January, I will propose legislation for, 1, mandatory sex offender registry screening by all STR platforms like Airbnb, VRBO, any other platform in Alabama. And 2, minimum safety standards statewide. And 3, local government authority to set stricter standards without state preemption. Madison should be able to decide what is right for Madison. Number 4, full transparency from platforms on their guest and owner vetting practices. That's the key, vetting practices. And I believe, we don't have such practices from some of these platforms because they're huge, they're big, they're multi-billion-dollar companies. I mean, they have all the, interest groups in their pockets. So that is critical. So we need vetting practices. This is not a partisan issue. This is a public safety issue. Every parent, every child, every school, every neighborhood in Alabama deserves these protections. So economy first, people first, Constitution first. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hanu. Is there anyone else who would like to address council? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I have a list. The next person is Madison Olson, I believe. Hopefully I said your last name correctly. Awesome.
Hello, my name is Madison Olson. I want to start out by thanking the council members that responded to my email where I gave my perspective on short-term rentals in Madison. I received some thoughtful responses back, and I appreciate knowing my voice was heard. I have lived in the District 3 area in Madison, Alabama for 4 years now. I am a wife, and I am a registered nurse. I'm very blessed to be able to be in such a wonderful city and neighborhood. In the past 4 years that I have lived here, it has been a joy getting to walk the sidewalks of my neighborhood and getting to know my neighbors. I remember when the house right next to me and my husband went up for sale. I was so excited to see who is going to move in and hoping it would be someone around my husband and I's age that we could become friends with. I told my husband I might even do something like make a pie or a dessert to welcome them to the neighborhood. When my husband saw someone outside at the property and attempted to get to know them, the gentleman had told him that this property was purchased to become an Airbnb short-term rental property. This was upsetting to hear, as another house across the street from us was also a VRBO short-term rental property. When we decided on our new home, we knew we didn't want to live in an HOA neighborhood. I never thought that in deciding to live in a non-HOA neighborhood that we would have to consider being surrounded by investment properties. Recently, I've had people argue with me and tell me Madison isn't a vacation destination. And I also agree. Madison, Alabama isn't a vacation destination. But do you know what is in 5 minutes driving distance away from my non-HOA neighborhood? Is the Huntsville Airport. Huntsville is now the largest city in Alabama and now ranked number 6 of the fastest growing cities in the United States. People are traveling here, whether it's for business, on the way to Florida, or maybe to see their family. There should be restrictions enforced for banning the ability to operate short-term rental properties in standard residential subdivisions inside Madison city limits to preserve the family neighborhood life and for the future and quality in life of our children. I'm proud this area is growing, but this area can grow without my family neighborhood and family neighborhoods like mine becoming hotels. There is a house about to go up for sale across the street from my home this week. Even before me and my husband heard anything about there being a debate on short-term rentals in Madison, he told me if it becomes an Airbnb or VRBO, he wants to move. I chose to live in a family neighborhood in one of the best school districts in Alabama. I don't want to raise children next to and around full-time hotels with strangers coming and going. Strangers who blast loud music outside on weeknights sometimes and party outside on a Monday night when you're trying to sleep and it's 10 p.m. and you work a 12-hour shift the next day. Strangers who advertise the home next door sleeps 15 people and you have multiple cars parked all around your street in front of your mailbox and your property. These things are happening now, and they are my current reality. There should be restrictions enforced for banning the ability to operate short-term rental properties in standard residential subdivisions inside Madison city limits to preserve our family neighborhood life and for the future of my future children already growing up in my neighborhood currently, and for everyone in this room's children and future children growing up in these neighborhoods where we see investment properties popping up rather than people buying these homes to live in and build real relationships and community. If there are no restrictions enforced on where these properties operate, we will see the existing cap of 190 of these allowed properties flood non-HOA neighborhoods near the Huntsville Airport, and 565, like my family neighborhood that I'm wanting to protect. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Olson. Mr. George? Richard George, please.
Good evening. I'm Richard George, and my wife and I have lived in Madison for just a month shy of 20 years. We live in the Oak Brook Circle area, a nice little circle of great family homes. My concern is quality of life and value. You've spoken that you've done a lot of work, and through tonight's presentation, I recognize that. Had more than one of you responded to my email, I might not have had anything to say tonight. But I didn't get responses, and I know you're busy. But this has answered a lot of my questions. You know, my concern was I moved into a non-HOA neighborhood, single-family residential neighborhood. Short-term rental has a place. I'm torn. Short-term rental has a place, but it is not in a single-family residential neighborhood like mine. I'm concerned about my kids, my grandkids, about the youngsters next door, because we've got an Airbnb, and regardless of what your policing says, we have one, and it's difficult to get outside at night sometimes because of the smell of marijuana. It's hard to get up and down the streets because of the cars. And I can assure you that the family unit is not in some of these. And so my concern of quality of life, my concern of value of my home, 20 years, I hope it's my last one. You've done a lot of work, and I appreciate that. I would ask that you continue to work to make this amenable, to make this a workable situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. George. Eric Canuck, and my apologies, did I get it close? Okay. Sorry, it happens to me too occasionally.
There's two ways to say it. Good evening, Council President, Mayor Bartlett, members of the council, and Councilman Beer, who I had a lovely conversation with last week. I want to first acknowledge that the job that these council members face is difficult, to make decisions based on the opinions of hundreds, thousands of constituents on a weekly basis. That balances what their preferences are as well as what is best for Madison is difficult and a noble task. While the city survey regarding short-term rentals showed 75% of people here were against them in our single-family neighborhoods, 70% even with restrictions, I understand that there were some issues with that survey. I was a stats major, so I can appreciate that. But what we did over the past 2 weeks is we set out to create a petition to get additional data points for all of you. So that petition, as of about 10 minutes ago, is about 648 people here. 77% were actually from Madison zip codes, and the majority of the rest were from Huntsville, Athens, and Harvest. They took time out of their day to engage in the civic process, and I appreciate them. They spent time learning the issues, sharing our message, and most importantly, expressing their concern for their short-term rentals in their neighborhoods. I'll add that none of them have ill will towards the neighbors here who own these properties, but we just have our concerns, and so we're engaging in this process. For many of us, we know that these short-term rentals exist in our communities already because they already impact us. As a new father, I worry about my son and what his future means. I think of his safety as he grows up and as he starts to play in our neighborhood and ride his bike. He just took his first steps a couple weeks ago. I think of the friends that he might never make because of the families that will never live in these homes. For us, we already have a number of these properties near our home. Most of the 190 homes proposed today will be concentrated in Madison's most affordable neighborhoods. I understand that affordability is a difficult question to answer, and people want home prices to go up, but they also want to be able to afford their homes. But I'll tell you, as somebody who just bought their first home 2 years ago, it was a very difficult process. It took us years to save up the down payment, which are now pushing $80,000 for a home like mine. And for the median home here in Madison, which is $430,000, it's pushing much higher. Some of these, the addition of investors into an already crowded market will only push prices further for locals here looking to call Madison home. It will force people like our public school teachers, our first responders, our postmen, people who work at the Toyota Mazda factory to look elsewhere into places like Athens and to the furthest stretches of western Madison if they're lucky. The recent hard data actually shows a decline in the most affordable homes. This quarter, while the median home price is more than 3 times the median household income. To me, this decision to allow short-term rentals into our family neighborhoods is not a value add to the families here. I also worry it opens the city to possible lawsuits regarding damage to property values for those families like Madison's who bought homes here in Madison with the expectation that these neighborhoods were already zoned residential, and these people have started these businesses against city code. A no vote tonight does not shut down a single short-term rental today. I'll make that clear. We're just asking the city council to consider a Huntsville or Auburn-style 6-month moratorium. Give the planning commission a little bit more time to work on something that balances the requests of both STR owners as well as the 648 signers of our petition and those who live in Madison who are concerned. Give the council time to reach out to other municipalities like Vestavia Hills, which has a very similar operating budget as ours, and is able to ban these in their residential neighborhoods. Regarding the amount of time that's been applied to this issue, I agree it's been quite a lot, and I could appreciate that. But I followed this issue actually prior to the survey going out. Since that time, we've had one initial proposal from the Planning Commission, which I think most people on my survey would agree with. But we've had the second proposal now, which is the 190 cap, which will allow essentially 100% of the existing operators to continue operating with full amnesty, no penalties for violating city code in the past. Members of the public have reached out during that time, yet this proposal lacks even location-based amendments such as Decatur's 3 per 1,000 feet. Neighbor notifications are minimal. Maximum license per operator rules don't exist, so monopolies might occur. And a public database of STR properties for parents and a public record of complaints does not yet exist.
Your statement, and unfortunately, you're out of time. Thank you very much. Moving on to Michael Parker, who I just want to give a plug, is the Coach of the Year for the state of Alabama for boys soccer. So proud of him.
Thank you, thank you. Bob Jones.
Yes, go Patriots.
However, my best friend is one of my good friends is the head coach of James Clemens. We just don't like each other for 2 90-minute periods a year. All right. I am here today on behalf of John Fellows. This is a man who is very well known in the community, but also while I was still deployed in Iraq and had 6 months, my family had to move here ahead of time to be stationed at Redstone Arsenal. And he took care of my sons and helped them with their Eagle Scout projects while I was deployed, and he didn't even know me. And so this is my payback for him because I should be watching the World Cup right now. All right, he says, John and Julie and I truly appreciate the commitment to each person on the city council. Regardless of the eventual outcome of the STR issue, we truly appreciate the active listening and consideration you have provided to the issue. Madison City Planning Committee has also considerable effort to ensure our great city plans for growth and continues to welcome new and potential citizens. I'm writing to provide my final input on your consideration. My wife Julie and I are longtime residents of Madison and have lived in this community for a long time. He's also worked at various corporations here and started 2 businesses within the city to help provide job opportunities for people wanting to live here and raise their families here. He goes on to say, I understand the concerns that can arise when short-term rentals are not managed responsibly. This is the case with any property individually or corporately owned, LTRs or STRs, located in residentially zoned areas of the city. Our goal is to be part of the solution and to support thoughtfully considered standards that protect neighborhoods, safety, increase Madison's revenue, always is essential, while still allowing many other benefits these properties provide. And so here's some of the ones that he wanted me to annotate tonight. More space and privacy. Guests can spread out in multi-room houses, access private backyards, and enjoy quiet neighborhoods rather than being confined to a single hotel room. Cost effectiveness. For families or large groups, splitting the cost of a single large home is frequently cheaper than booking multiple standard hotel rooms. Home-like amenities that are within those things that make it a perk as well, especially if you're having to stay for more than a couple of days. It supports local business as they also provide opportunities to fill restaurants, coffee shops, retail stores, and visit the Space and Rocket Center. Local authentic experience for them with all the different varieties of restaurants and things that we have here. It also gives them a chance to stay in these short-term rentals when they're here looking for a home to make their permanent home, especially when they're coming into some of these large corporations that are here. It also provides a good, STRs are often generate significantly higher gross revenue than long-term rentals, allowing owners to maximize profits during peak tourism seasons. Flexible personal use, unlike long-term lease owners can block out dates on the booking calendar to be able to enjoy their homes themselves. They do a good job of controlling the maintenance and accountability system that they have here. With that being said, that was on his behalf as one of the owners of these STRs, and I know the pride that he takes in making sure that the neighbors are happy. We have helped him to watch over this once or twice when they were out of town to make sure that we could respond quickly to any issues that may be going on at the home. Now I'll speak to you from my behalf as a Airbnb person that rents frequently from there when I go on vacations. I don't like standard hotel rooms. I like the ability to be in something different. The homeliness that it provides while we're staying there on a vacation, that I don't have to smell. I know they've said there, other people's expressed issues with marijuana, but I have that in the hotel rooms that I stay in. I don't have that when I stay in a single-family dwelling, when I go to the beach or when I go somewhere else on vacation, one of the cool treehouse ones, you know, all the varieties that they offer. I think it also does give people an opportunity to experience the neighborhoods here in Madison that we brag about. If they stay in a hotel, they don't get that. And so by being there in that short-term rental, to get to meet some of these great neighbors, like the great people that have spoken here tonight, might help them realize this is exactly where I want to move my family. And if they have young men that play soccer, then I absolutely want them to move in the Bob Jones area. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate your comments. Richard Chandler, please.
I'm a lousy public speaker, so please bear with me. 105 Bentworth Lane is my home in Madison. Thanks for allowing me to address the council. My wife and I are very concerned about the passage of this ordinance. We've run a single-family Airbnb home for the past few years in Madison to supplement our meager Social Security income. It's not a huge income producer, but it gives us something to do, and we meet some interesting people in retirement. We have completely refurbished the home, maintained it in excellent condition, and it's as good as any home in the neighborhood. Our unit provides a needed service to newcomers to the community, as well as for those who abhor staying in a cold hotel environment or have special needs. We have rented to traveling nurses, those with special needs children, and those attending family events like graduations and funerals. Airbnb hosts and guests are self-policing to a large degree, in that after each rental event, each side rates the other in a number of categories. We are an Airbnb superhost and have maintained a perfect 5.0 rating with 55 reviews from our guests. We have always vetted our renters prior to accepting their requests, and we require all our guests to have at least 2 really good reviews and no negative comments in their history. We've always rented our unit out for at least a minimum of 5 nights, and those have been very few. We maintain an excellent rapport and lines of communication with our neighbors and ask them to contact us immediately if there's any issues with the renters that are currently residing there. We also pay our fair share and then some to the community. In addition to the normal $1,700 we pay in property taxes, our customers have paid an additional $2,910 in occupancy taxes. The paperwork and maintenance required for this unit throughout the year is considerable, and the passage of this ordinance with all its additional red tape and associated fees will probably be enough to break the back on us maintaining this as a rental unit, and we will strongly consider changing it over to a long-term rental. This will have the effect of eliminating the occupancy taxes that are being collected and may introduce more children into the Madison school system with no corresponding increase in the school taxes from what is currently being paid. We strongly urge that this ordinance not be passed and that we be allowed to continue as currently established to provide this needed service to our community. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Chandler. And the last person that has signed up with a card is Jonathan Draper.
Hi. Thank you all for letting me come and speak. I kind of had a prepared speech. We're going to do a bit of an audible based upon what everybody said so far. But first of all, I'd like to address you guys on the issue and just thank you all for doing your jobs and not continuing to kick the can down the road. I especially want to thank Mr. Barrett for your leadership on this. Regardless of how you all vote, we're just, again, grateful for your service and actually doing the right thing finally, regardless of how it goes. So with that, I think that a lot of points have been brought up for various things. It seems like one of the main things everyone agrees upon is no one wants giant corporations coming in and buying up the housing stock, but that also happens with long-term rentals. And that is one of the major economic drivers from a macroeconomic standpoint that is affecting property values in this country is the amount of housing that is owned by corporations, not for short-term rental, but long-term rental. I've heard talk about how it will affect property values, but I haven't heard any statistics about Madison in particular. But actually, it's not impacting home supply or prices positively or negatively. Active listings are up 12.1% over the past year and 62.57% over the past 3 years. So it is not reducing housing supply or active listings on the market. The median list prices are actually down 1.16% and 12.83% over the last 3 years. It is simple. New construction is creating more supply, and thus that's what is impacting prices, not Airbnb, especially the low amount in the city. And the other thing is values are tracking in line with national macroeconomic trends. And while the average rent in Madison is actually $1,347 a month, and nationally is $1,951. So it's $600 a month less in rent here. So it's not creating an affordability issue, even though the price is in line for a new home with national level. Rent is still $600 less. So with that, that leaves one thing to be the primary driver of values in Madison, and you guys all campaigned on that, and that's schools. That is what drives property values in Madison. You guys campaigned on the half-cent sales tax and doing what we could to create great schools for this community. And with that, once all the vacant property in Madison is developed, what will most likely happen is the home prices will increase in the older neighborhoods, because then you can't buy a new house cheap because all the land's used up there, all been sold. So then that's going to make older neighborhoods attractive for flippers to come in and buy these houses and flip them and sell them to individuals to access the Madison City School District. That will drive out Airbnbs, is that it is no longer economical because we're not a tourist destination to keep the Airbnb rent up. So I don't think that is going, this particular municipality is not a beach, it's not a tourist destination, and it's not full for housing yet. And then also, for the rules, I think the gentleman spoke and he said, you know, $350 seems a lot to issue a permit. And it's risks that haven't even been established yet. These are non-existent risks that have been brought up. On the agenda tonight, you know, there's a proposal next for an occupancy permitting fee of $200. Why is it $350 to review occupancy for an Airbnb annually? If someone is building an entire house, a full electrical inspection from the city is $140 and will require multiple trips. Why does it cost $350 to inspect less in an Airbnb? An alcohol permit is only $100. What other business classifications in the city pay this high of a permit fee on top of business licenses or are subject to as thorough inspections? This permit fee seems to be an additional tax in disguise. And I say it half jokingly, but we can't pay for the ball field by ourselves, you know? But on top of that, hotels even do not have this onerous of regulation or fees, and they even get offered economic incentives from the city. Corporations of all kinds are getting tax abatements to come to Madison, and then we are getting a severe tax hike. This just seems like Main Street being taxed at the expense of Wall Street. We're not being treated fairly compared to hotels, long-term rentals, or others, however that is defined, and there's zero evidence that this is more of a risk. How is someone that rents a house for 179 days more of a safety or community issue than someone that does it for 181 days? There's just no statistics to that. But again, thank you guys very much more overall. We really do appreciate you guys just doing it. If this had been handled in 2019, when they first came up, we all wouldn't be here today, and it would have been taken care of. So thank you for finally doing something and doing it right in due process.
Thank you, Mr. Draper. Is there anyone else that hasn't signed up but would like to speak to council? Just come on up forward. Just, yeah, whatever you're comfortable with. Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Good evening.
Yes. Your
Council.
name?
My name is Frank Tatum.
Okay.
I live in the same neighborhood with Mr. George, and some of our other neighbors are here. I want to thank you for the time to speak, all the council persons and Mayor Bartlett. I have been communicating with the city since February of 2025 about this issue. I've written the city on several occasions. In February 2025, I wrote a lengthy letter, which was also signed by a number of our neighbors. In fact, 33 of them signed it. And I'm going to go over the things that we saw as problems because we had an Airbnb then. It was next door to my house, and it was across the street from Mr. George's house. The first thing is, it was a very negative experience. And the reason it was negative is because of the factors he mentioned. There was criminal behavior going on. if we allow Airbnbs in our community, then we're going to create an opportunity for more increased crime and reduced public safety in the city. Now, I know that your comment is that this ordinance takes care of all that. But what do we know happens when you overregulate something? It's more profitable to do it illegally. If you believe that everybody that's going to have an Airbnb is going to come down here and pay the fee, have their home inspected, and deal with all of that, instead of just putting it on Airbnb and doing it illegally, I think you're wrong. They legalized marijuana in California. That made legal marijuana more expensive than illegal marijuana. That's the reason you can't overregulate. We've had increased traffic and noise. We think our property values have gone down. If there are a lot of Airbnbs, legal or illegal, then people are going to want their property to be reassessed at a lower value so they don't have to pay as much tax. The issue in 2025 was there were no lodging taxes and fees paid to the city. And unfortunately, I mentioned in my letter to the city how much money I thought a certain number of Airbnbs would bring in revenue. I'm sorry I did that because I think that's why we're allowing them now. It's a revenue generating measure. It's not about the neighborhoods. Now, I want to say that this ordinance that you have, I don't think it's going to fix everything, because under this ordinance, you're allowing Airbnbs in single-family dwelling zone districts. When I first wrote the city back in 2025, I said, these cannot be allowed in single-family zone districts. They will destroy the nature of those communities. One of our neighbors has already moved out of the neighborhood because they had small children, and they didn't want the children playing in the street with people coming and going, and not only that, as I mentioned, and he mentioned, people smoking marijuana. So what should we do? We should do what Huntsville did. Huntsville has banned them in single-family dwelling districts. Not only that, but they've gone out and sued people who have been operating these. And the courts, the Madison County Circuit Court, has enforced their injunctions, which means we don't have to worry about testing our ordinance. All we have to do is adopt theirs and not allow them in single-family districts. That's all we're asking for. That's all we're asking for. If people want to do this in a condominium where there are high-density people coming and going, there's a lot of traffic, there's plenty of parking, you have parking lots that are well-lit, that sort of thing, that's different. But we don't believe we should allow it in neighborhoods like ours. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Tatum. Is there anyone else who would like to address council? Yes, ma'am.
Leslie Kelly from Silver Creek Subdivision.
I'm sorry, I missed your name?
Leslie Kelly.
Okay, and District 7?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm opposed to the ordinance as it is written. And for the record, in Silver Creek Subdivision, we have no HOA, but we do have deeded restrictions that you didn't mention in your forms that limit the property usage to residential purposes only. So you need to consider that in your ordinance. I'm not going to repeat what other people have said, but there is research that demonstrates a tangible link between the proliferation of whole house Airbnbs to crime. And it really just destroys the fabric of a neighborhood. I'm going to give you an example. The other night, my husband called me to the window and he said, this car pulled up down our street, and it sat there, turned off its headlights and ran. And you could see the face of someone in the car. And it had sat there so long that he called me to see it. And I thought, well, that isn't a car we know, and we know all our neighbors. You know all our neighbors. And then out of the corner of the lot across the street in a dark house came someone coming through the back gate out of the backyard and cut across and got in that car. Now, I know what I was witnessing because I know my neighbors. That's the teenager across the street sneaking out so that the doorbell camera doesn't catch him. But had that been an Airbnb, was that a burglary going on? Was that a drug deal going on? We don't know. Do I call the police for something like that? But we're neighbors and we know. So the fabric of our neighborhood in single resident dwellings, we know each other. That keeps your crime level down, and that's what the research is all about. And also, I don't think you're considering about the devaluation of homes around these type activities. The value of your home is your biggest investment, and if you've got coming and going and revolving doors, that really lowers the value of your house for a long time. And as I say, I won't repeat what other people are saying, but I did notice that there were some things in the ordinance that there are some gaps. If we do go forward with some kind of short-term rentals, I think we should have them, but not everywhere. When I rent down at Seascape, a condo in Seascape, but I do it through VRBO. But I take Seascape's supplemental agreement, and I have to sign that I'm going to abide by those rules. They're also posted in the condo, but we should require hosts to say, here are the rules of Madison, acknowledge this, and give us a photo ID. So if we have to have the police out there, law enforcement can do a background check real quick on who they're about to go encounter. So that's one thing. Also, we should exclude boarders, because a lot of young people get roommates through Airbnb. And that's how they get roommates now. Also through Roomies, another app. And so we shouldn't discourage people trying to get roommates in their house to defray cost. So that should be part of our ordinance to exclude them. Also, a 2-day minimum on a rental for Airbnb should be imposed so that we don't have prom and graduation parties occurring, and mommy's not renting a house to throw everybody in, and she's willing to pay the penalty of that later, because that goes on. And then also a minimum age for the renter. And then maybe a possible citywide exception for big events like maybe the softball tournament. You know, down in Augusta, they rent all the houses out in Augusta for the Masters. You know, they make their whole annual mortgage payment with those rentals. So I just think our ordinance can be written so that it benefits us, gives us other places to rent for people, but protects the fabric of single-family residential dwellings. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Ms. Howard, are you ready? Okay. You're welcome.
Just a few more minutes with y'all, if you don't mind, since
Yes,
I saw
ma'am.
you one time. Just wanted to say a few more things. So just, my name is Mary Howard. I'm married, I have 4 children, 8 grandchildren. I live in District 5, and my short-term rental is in District 7. My family's been involved in real estate, long-term rentals for over 50 years. Short-term rentals are a newer concept, and we've learned that they are a critical solution to housing families that need a temporary residence to house their family where a hotel is just not a viable option. I'm a Madison resident of 20 years and a Huntsville resident before that for 30 additional years. I love Madison. I want Madison to be a safe and enjoyable place for families, including my own. I understand the concern about STRs, but I also feel the need for them and understand it better than most, since this is what I do. I think a limit based on population of Madison is important for proper balance. We have also been paying state lodging taxes and are happy for the city of Madison to receive a tax benefit as well. When residents are buying and selling homes in Madison, they often need an STR to house their family to fill the gap until their new home is available. This comes up often. Hotels do not work for families, especially those with small children. This need is for Madison residents. Displaced families with flood or fire. There are often families who are displaced who want a comfortable and normal lifestyle for their family while waiting for their homes to be restored. STRs fill this need. Cost is another consideration. STR homes can house 6 people, which is more affordable than trying to rent multiple hotel rooms. I charge $150 a night as a minimum. This meets a crucial need for Madison residents as well as visitors who have limited funds. I host many elderly people as well as my home provides them with a stay that meets their monetary, physical, and dietary needs. Let's not forget our residents in this community. I have owned my STR home for 5 years and I have a 3-night minimum rental allowed. I have not had one single party held at my home in 5 years. I think parties, and this is my neighbor, she's going to speak to you next. I think parties are much more rare than most of us think. We local owners have good relationships with our neighbors, and we want to keep it that way, as well as keep our homes from getting damaged. Local STR owners are running a business, like many of you, and are feeling a demand for Madison. I like helping people, and I find great reward in making lots of people very happy who stay in our home. We, of course, are ready to meet the requirements of the City of Madison that are reasonable in order to keep our privileges as business owners and real estate property owners. We all have long-term, another point, we all have long-term rentals in our neighborhoods, don't we? Often they are terrible neighbors, and they stay a long time. Short-term rentals have rental risks also, but at least they are just there a short term, right? We try very hard to look at previous stays that our potential renters have had. We can look at reviews and determine if they will be good renters or not, and decide if we want to rent to them or not. I've even gotten warnings from Airbnb and Vrbo. They say, don't rent to these people, and I don't. We local owners keep our properties in pristine condition and improve property values in the City of Madison. We pay property taxes just like everyone else. Maybe some of us in this room have seen the kind of improvement that is made when a neglected, raggedy home is refreshed and upgraded and turned into a beautiful home that meets its potential. I am an Airbnb superhost, like that other gentleman, and have had a 5.9-star rating for a long time out of 90 reviews. STRs for Madison residents fill a need that is crucial for families that live here and visit here. It is my hope that this need is recognized, valued, and supported. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Howard. Yes, ma'am? No, please, let's not clap either way. That'd just be better. Thank you. Hello, ma'am. And if you could just say your name and what district, well, I'm guessing you live in District 7.
Yes.
Okay, and your name is?
Jan Talley. I built my home in Cottonwood Estates 42 years ago. So I've seen a lot of people, owners and renters, come and go. I've had some horrible renters that I was stuck with for years, big dogs, multiple issues. But anyway, but we in reference to the STR, we have never experienced any problems with the renters at 125 Cottonwood. I live at 121. The home and yard are always very well maintained, and the owners carefully screen all prospective tenants. Over the past several years, a couple has stayed there for a few months at a time, and they have been very pleasant neighbors. There has never been a disruptive party or any activity that disturbed the neighborhood. The owners are highly attentive and always considerate of the surrounding neighbors when renting the property. One of the great qualities of this home is its location in a welcoming starter neighborhood, making it ideal for young couples with children or for individuals visiting and spending time with nearby family members. I know of one older couple that drives all the way from Minnesota to visit their son here in Madison. They want to live in a home. They rent the Howard's Airbnb for a couple of months, and they have just been really kind older people. They would not want to have to stay in a hotel for all that time, but you wouldn't want to they wouldn't want to sign a 6-month or a year's rental lease either. So the Howards are providing a service to people. And think about young couples, like she said, young couples want to have a home atmosphere when they come to visit family or relatives, maybe for a wedding or a funeral, as discussed previously. And my next door neighbor feels the same way I do. The Howards have become very good friends, and they've been excellent neighbors. And we can reach them anytime we have a question or a concern about a vehicle that's there. Is that one supposed to be there? And we usually know who's coming and going from there. We know usually how long people are going to be there, and we know who's going to be there. So I'm happy to have them as neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Talley. Mr. Von Juan? And I know everyone's name, so be ready to be called on. Hi, Danny.
Evening. Thank you for having us, Mayor and council members. My name is Daniel Von Juan.
A little bit louder, please, Danny.
Sorry.
You can move the mic if you need to.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. My name is Daniel Von Juan. My wife and I, we run 2 furnished rentals here in Madison. We also have unfurnished rentals that we do long-term, so we're familiar with both. Our rentals are family-run. We used to do the cleanings ourselves until we had kids. Now we have a local couple, a wife and her husband, that do the cleanings for us. My dad mows the lawns and maintains the outside. We target primarily our guests are displaced from their homes due to damage or remodeling of their homes, bridging the gap between closing if they're selling their home and moving across town on a different date to purchase, or families coming to explore the area. They're moving to Huntsville for a job transfer and they need to learn the area and see where they want to buy a house. They stay for a couple weeks or a month and learn the area. And our current guests, I want to read a snippet from them as they came in at the start of June. She says, "Hello, we have been displaced from our home since the end of March due to a sewage overflow." And she goes on a lot of detail about that and says, "At this point, we are simply ready to be back in our home and out of a hotel. We've had to move back and forth between Marriott and Hilton properties, and it's been extremely stressful. It would mean so much to our family to be settled again and have even a little sense of normalcy while we wait for the house to be finished. We've been told the repairs will take about a month, and we're praying this does not happen again." And they have been thrilled with our property and just having a backyard and a full house to live in instead of bouncing between hotel rooms. And so I just wanted to mention the value that adds to not just out-of-towners coming to visit the area, but this is a value for residents who actually have a need here due to whatever circumstances keep them out of their own home. Also, our homes for the furnished rentals were purchased with the blessing of Madison City several years ago. So just wanted to just point that out, that we would not have gone down that route if there were these regulations in place. So just to be mindful of some sort of grandfathered in policy before enforcing all these red tape and fees for properties that were already purchased and heavily invested in with repairs, furniture, and this, that, and the other. And also to point out the definition of short-term was given at a 6-month stay. We would consider that mid-term. We used to do short stays of a weekend and decided, just the turnovers were more hassle than we wanted to deal with once we had kids. We found that multi-week to multi-month has been kind of a midterm of targeting those families and those members of the community, not just here for a weekend getaway. And we don't really consider that short term once you're beyond a month. So just wanted to also put that up for consideration of reevaluating what's considered short term instead of going straight from short to long. There is a midterm gap there that has a different target audience. So I just wanted to bring all those things up, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Von Juan. Is there anyone else that would like to come on up? And if you could just say your name and your district, please.
My name is Denise Schreiber, and I'm in Erica's district. Number one, I would like to know how he got special permission from the city to run these when they're illegal. And number two, about a month ago on your website, it said the planning committee did not think that these residencies should go into single-family resident areas, and now it's okay. And I wanted to know why you changed your mind.
Okay. We'll address that, but we didn't change our mind. Any other comments?
I did a screenshot, I have it. It's on the website that the planning committee recommended that they not be in single-family residence. I'll email it to you. I took a screenshot.
Good evening, City Council members, Madam President. Thank you for allowing us to speak. And hello, everyone. My name is Chastity McMillan, and I am a former host. And I came to the meeting, I just heard about that you all were going to be talking about the ordinance regarding STRs. And I wanted to come and just say a few things about my experience, but then also just to say that I heard everyone's concerns. But just coming from the point of view of a host, just like the lady spoke who talked about her family owning STRs, I'm also one of those that owned one in a city. But before I say that, I'm from Charlotte, which is a nice, beautiful city, and I visit Nashville often. So when you go to stay in some of these STRs that they have, they really give you and offer you a good experience that a hotel cannot. And so I was actually inspired to get and become a host just from traveling to those cities. But I had one in Harvest, and I was really disappointed because when Huntsville changed their zoning rules and regulations, I was one of those that just kind of saw the writing on the wall and closed it. But during that time, I had one for 3 years. I was also a 5-star host, and it's one of those things, every STR does not have bad guests. When you have, as others mentioned, the rules in place, you have high expectations, and even when you have these guests sign a lease, it's holding them accountable so they know that they're going to take care of your home, treat it properly, and hopefully treat it respectfully. So I just wanted to add that because they are beneficial. We had, I think I heard someone, and I've heard other people say, you know, people don't come to Madison, but they may not just be coming to Madison, they may be coming to Harvest. And so we've actually hosted people who came here for just to visit the Rockets Center, weddings, family reunions, conferences, just to go to the Botanical Gardens. A couple, for example, we were hosting a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house, and this couple stayed because they were considering whether or not they wanted to retire here. And someone said, well, go visit Huntsville and Madison and explore it. And they loved it. So just to tell you some of the feedback, they said it was one of the best Airbnbs they ever stayed in. And I've always gotten that out of the 35, I think it was 36 people that we hosted. So there is a way to do this. And I do just have some questions, too, based on the information they said presented about the regulations. But there's a way to do it when you have hosts that are involved, hosts that care, and hosts that really want their Airbnb to be utilized for not just, you know, people visiting, but people visiting for more than 5 days. There's a way to do it if you communicate with your neighbors, as you all put in your ordinance, but also just setting the example from the time that they see the listing online, from the time that they communicate with you through the direct messaging, just setting your expectation that way. And then also, the one thing that I wanted to ask, because now I'm looking to see, because I would like to have another one in Madison. I want to have it in the right location, but it's not something that I don't want not to do. I would like to have a new one. And so my questions for you all, and maybe I can get those answered at some later point, but I just wanted to put this on here for the record. Will the rentals be restricted to be in certain areas in the city? When you all were having your discussions, did you know how many STRs there are now? And then how did the 190 cap come about? And then as far as the corporate investors, I do agree with the gentleman that came and spoke about the corporate investors having these STRs. I think it should be more allowable for people who are actually residents of Madison, because as people mentioned, it's great income. Some hosts are really excited to host and have these rentals and offer an exciting stay for people who visit this city. And then if it's really on a first-come, first-served basis, if you have a corporate investor that, let's say, if they just only are required to have one permit, how many rentals can they list under that permit? Say there's a big organization, can they list all 100 of their STRs so that for people like me, I won't have an opportunity to become a host again. So I'm just wondering those things. And then finally, I just wanted to mention, just think about the World Cup, all the people who are hosting and how they get to host all these people. For some people, it's very exciting. If they're doing it right, and if they want to obviously provide a great experience for these individuals, there's a way to do it without all the problems that, you all have heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. McMillan. Is there anyone else who would like to? Yes, ma'am. Saw you coming. It's okay.
My name's Diane. Milliken. I'm in District 3. Have to think about it. Y'all, it changed one time. I messed up. I understand y'all are probably going to do this. Y'all have already voted, or, in your mind, y'all already know which way you're going. I've lived here. All these people talking about how long they've lived here. I've been here since I was 6 months old. I'm currently in the house that my parents built. I now have an STR across the street from my house, and y'all are talking about how they're supposed to require parking. Okay, these people, it was all single residential. All they did for extra parking, they've got plenty in the back, but they park them in the front. They threw a load of gravel in the ditch. Now, it looks horrible. I contacted the city because when it rains, now we got standing water over there, and the city told me it wasn't a problem. Well, they came over when it wasn't raining. When it's raining, you can see it. It's got standing water in it now. So now they're parking like, they just drive up in the yard. That's all they're doing. If y'all are allowing these into non-HOA residence neighborhoods, the 190 cap, I'm worried about how many houses are there really available in that set of not a HOA. I don't know. I know there's a lot of HOAs, and I don't want one. Never had one, don't want one. But I wonder how much is there in there. I mean, if 190 gap, is there only 200 available? I have no idea on the numbers. But something I've noticed on this one that's near me, the trash. They only have one trash can and one recycling can, and they are all the time overflowing. Because if you've got numerous people coming in, I go somewhere for 3 days, I've got at least a bag of garbage, okay? So everybody that's coming in's got at least one. The one that's across the street from me, they built it used to be a workshop, and they reverted it. I talked to Mr. Billy about this one, and thank you for responding to me. I appreciate that, I really do. They made that one into a single unit type. They added plumbing, everything. And then they also rent out some of the rooms in the house and have like a common area, which I get it. I understand people need it for work. I think everybody that's renting the one across the street is apparently men that like loud trucks, because they start at 5:30 in the morning, and I hear it every morning at 5:30. I haven't seen any families over there in my area. We have not had any parties. We just have the loud trucks and like the extra garbage. And yes, there is extra, traffic going in and out because they don't know exactly where this thing is. So if you go to the back part, you got to drive up one way, and if you come into the front, they just drive up in the yard. So there's kind of a little confusion on there. But like I said, it's just, I know y'all are probably going to already approve it, but the 190 I'm worried about because, like I said, I've been here since I was 6 months old. I grew up loving Madison, but with some of the changes, I'm sorry, I'm getting kind of, if I had a good place to go, I would want to go, but, I own my mom and dad's house. I'd rather stay here. So thank you very much, and thank you for all y'all's help. Thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. Milliken. Anyone else who would like to address council? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Carol Hervius. I'm with District 7. Thank you for your work. Appreciate your dedication to our city. Thank you so much for answering my emails and for talking to me on the phone. And I also want to thank you for answering my email regarding all of the red light runners. I used to be in your district, but I appreciate it. My experience has been the past several weeks, I am inundated with text messages and phone calls from out-of-state corporations wishing to purchase my home. My children are gone. They have their own homes. They pay their own bills. They do well enough where they can upgrade my presents from time to time. My husband passed away. He is here in the cemetery. This is my home. I appreciate those who own houses here and who do want to have the short-term rentals. You would certainly take more care about your residents than a corporation will. I have spoken to some of these corporations who want to buy my home. I don't have a warm, fuzzy feeling. They don't answer questions that I ask. They do answer, but they are not answering my questions. Lived here a long time, and I can remember being touted as the best place to live in the United States. If we have some cold corporations coming in and purchasing our properties, I don't think that they would take as much care as the people who live in this area and have homes that they rent out. Thank you for your time. God bless you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, sir?
Hello, thank you. My name is Jonathan Chandler. I live in Huntsville, but I have rental properties in Huntsville and in Madison. Forgive me, I didn't have time to prepare something. I just found out about this today. I was working on one of the houses, took PTO for the week so that I could go there and do some renovation myself because I can't afford to pay the contractors here, which is something maybe you guys could look into. Paying California prices for contractors here, it doesn't seem normal. But anyways, I'll try my best to organize this. I debated whether to even say anything because like somebody else said, I feel like you probably already made up your minds, and also, this is very upsetting. I'm very upset, very angry, and I'm afraid I was going to say something or make a fool of myself. But I'm going to try to be sensitive to everyone who's spoken, even though I don't agree with a lot of things I've heard here today. Just finding out about this here a minute ago, earlier today, I feel attacked. I feel betrayed. I feel targeted. My wife and I have worked very hard. We work very hard. We work full-time during the day, and we have these 3 properties that we manage, and we alternate between short-term and long-term as needed. We take great care. We are also super hosts. I don't know what the score is, but it's close to 5, which is the near perfect score. So we have 60-something ratings on there. We've been doing this for many years. I moved here in 2014, bought my first house in Huntsville, and that's now an Airbnb. Got the one here in Madison, and then and another one in Huntsville. And we screen our guests, of course, because these are our investments. We have to fix whatever gets broken. We have to deal with whatever fallout comes from a bad visit. Thankfully, we haven't had any episodes. We haven't had any scenes. We haven't had any neighbors confront us. We haven't had any police incidents, nothing. And I think that's probably the case for most Airbnb hosts because, I mean, sorry, I'm getting a little mixed up here. We have, let me see. I'm going to jump around a little bit here too. I've heard people talking about Airbnbs here, and it feels like they're trying to, or STRs as you call them, trying to vilify them. Talking about these, who's living, who's coming here. We don't know who they are. I've lived for years in neighborhoods where there's neighbors that I don't know, that never come into our house or never talk to us. I've lived with neighbors who are not short-term rentals, who are drug dealers. And I know that for a fact. We smell them, we see the traffic coming and going. We have neighbors, even now, who are loud. They have loud cars, and they're not renters. They're not Airbnb guests. They're just neighbors. So all the problems that I've heard about, these complaints about Airbnb guests, can also be extended to long-term guests. They're just people that live there in your neighborhood. It's the same, we're all people. It's the same thing. We don't encourage parties. Obviously, we don't want people partying in our properties. We do as long-term a rental as we possibly can. I don't do the weekend thing or the overnight thing. We're not trying to get people coming in there for a graduation party to destroy the place or something like that. So we're very careful to scrutinize. And then I just think it's all a little bit unnecessary. We have laws in place already. We have police forces. We have, if there's a noise complaint, you can call the police and tell them about it, just the same as you would, on an Airbnb guest as you would be on somebody that's living there, an owner, for example. It feels a little oppressive. We invest, my wife and I invest heavily in our 401ks. I know I'm gonna wrap this up. And we have a 4-year-old that we're taking care of. We're trying to have another kid. And this is our long-term retirement plan, because I don't think we can't count on a 401k being enough, with the expenses the way they are, the cost of living, everything, and the uncertainty in the markets, all this stuff. So if this goes away, then I don't know what we're gonna do. We're gonna have to rethink everything. But this is, I had a lot of questions that I wanted to pose here. I'm not gonna do that now. Maybe I can follow up with you guys a little bit later. One of them was about the cap of the 190. I feel like that's a little arbitrary. I'm curious where that came from, and wondering what would happen if, we get to 200 or 300, or if I don't get in before that 190 is met. Am I just out of business or not?
Thank you, Mr. Chandler. I appreciate you speaking. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to address council?
Margie Daly, Erica's district. Okay, so from my experience, all these people that are up there touting they're the best host in town and all this, we have one right over here, down the block of Ace Hardware. It is a horror, a horror. They added on and added on. They put a pool in the yard. From my home, my living room, I can see the lights and the party I can hear, and it is blocks away from me. At first, I thought it was the skate park. This has been going on for years now. First, I thought it was the skate park. I'm like, what are they doing over there after midnight? All of a sudden, I see all these different color lights, and, you could see it right from my living room. My dogs go crazy. I have 3 chihuahuas. They do not like to be disturbed at midnight, nor do I. The lawn is currently 3 feet high. It's obviously an out-of-towner. I understand the people that came up here and touted themselves. We are the residents here. This thing over here has to go. I mean, we have to have more regulations on them. And this guy over here who wants to be grandfathered in, so if you do pass it, he doesn't want to pay. I mean, it is a disturbance to the residents if they don't take care of it. This thing has to be an out-of-towner. And I'm surprised nobody else from the block is here tonight, because this thing is bad. It's right over here on the block of Ace Hardware. I think it's Carter, and it's on a cul-de-sac. And you could easily see it because it's like the biggest monstrosity. They just kept adding on and added on. So I don't know how much money they're making off it. But when I was campaigning, I went over there, and they were having a pool party. And that's like when it clicked. And one of the neighbors I spoke to said, no, it's an Airbnb. And they have numerous different rentals inside that one house that they just kept adding on to. So, I already have 2 permanent rentals on my block, and I got to say, one of them is a very nice family, and they're no problem, and they're actually right next door to me. Then there's one 3 doors down that they were building extra little shacks in the back for other people to live in. I had to call code enforcement, and they got rid of them. But I had to hunt down the owner, and when I hunted her down, I got her on the phone, and I said, look, that's an issue. They're building shacks in the back. They put their own telephone and electricity back there. Oh, yeah, it was a horror. So, I'm grateful for the people that, do it well. But the monstrosities, we can't allow it. We can't allow that. One monstrosity will ruin the whole neighborhood. And we had 2 over there. So those people were temporary. I don't know that it was rented as an Airbnb. But when I finally figured out the landlord, you know me, I went into the tax records, found out who owned it, found out where she worked, called her up right at work and said, what is going on at your rental property? Oh, there's no problems over there. I said, I have video. They're building shacks with dirt floors in the back, and they put up their own telephone pole, and there's an electric line back there. What is going on? And she said, well, I don't see a problem. And I said, you don't see a problem? I live 3 doors down. I see a problem. What if that pole goes down? What if it goes on fire? You're going to take the whole block down? So, I guess, the pendulum swings both ways. But, as far as this guy who wants to be grandfathered in and not have to pay the fee, come on now. Be grateful you got away with it this long. That was really uncalled for, asking to be grandfathered in. Anyway, the experience that my neighborhood has had, which is right here, has not been good with the Airbnbs. And you said, please come up and give your experience. These are my experiences. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else who would like to talk about geese? No, sorry. I didn't say that. Come on up. I'm not sure. No, I'm sorry. I think it was just 5 minutes per person. You're with somebody. Are you with this young lady here? Or no? I'm just saying you can throw her up here if you want, but I'm sorry, it is 5 minutes. But if you have something for her to read? No? I can let you all talk about it for a minute. Is there any? Yes, sir. Come on up while they discuss. Yes, sir, they will.
Hello, my name is Dan Walter. I'm District 5. And I have seen studies that indicate that Airbnbs increase the police requirements in neighborhoods, the crime and so forth. So my question is, if you've asked whether the increased revenues are going to cover the increased costs of policing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Walder. Have y'all worked out a plan, or? No, you don't think so? That's okay, I understand. Is there anyone else who would like to, before we close public comments, anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we will close public comments, and we will need a motion and a second.
So moved.
I'm sorry. Was it you, David?
It was.
Okay, David and Michael. So I have a motion from Mr. Beer and a second from Mr. McKay. Let's talk.
All right, well, it appears I'm starting again. I want to thank everybody for your comments, engagement. It means a lot. Over the past 2 months, every single comment that has come up is now part of the ordinance in some form or fashion. So I look at the ordinance as written today, and yes, if I owned an Airbnb or an STR, I should just say it like that, I would look at the ordinance and say, wow, that's overly burdensome. But that is a direct result of this council, the Planning Commission, and our Planning Department and Legal Department responding to the concerns of our constituents and citizens. So while it's burdensome, it's also done to put in place the regulations that we need. There is a clear market demand. I think we've heard from a lot of folks here tonight that there are renters that we desire and want in the city of Madison, folks that are moving here from FBI, from Space Command, from Eli Lilly, that want a place to stay with the family, there's a market demand for STR. There is opposition. I know we've got, I will tell you, on a side note, I couldn't appreciate more the conversation I had with Eric last week. I think that kind of engagement means a lot. It is so helpful on both sides. I got to understand your position and really kind of explain some of what I've seen, and I'm going to speak a little bit to this role as finance chair. As we look at finance, and this comes up a lot with our first responders and police and fire, we did look at, what is the history in the city of Madison? These have been going on for some time. What are the complaints? What are the parties? And do we ever have some? We do. We didn't traditionally track, what they were from STR, non-STR. But as mentioned, we have parties and issues that people that are long-term rentals, people that own homes, and STRs, and we are going to continue to track that. But as we look at a budget standpoint, we currently capture today just over $300,000 in lodging tax. Our fire department for years have needed new radios that cost $850,000. The police department needs the same radios. I think their cost is roughly the same, if not more. That is a few years of STRs that can pay for that. Police cars at $70,000 to $80,000 a pop. Every time that we cut money from the city of Madison, it does have adverse effects on our first responders. Outside our top two spending categories as a council and as a city, police and then fire. Second, and then outside of that, it was parks. We've moved some money around, so then it's public works and engineering. So roads, first responders, repairing things, and parks. That's what folks want. So when we do surveys and we say, do you oppose STR? And they say, yeah, I oppose them. I don't want a period. And then the follow-up would be, okay, where would you like to cut that money from? Now, we could, there is a world out there, like Huntsville is a great example. They banned them in single-family residence. They did. But they also have a ton of homes that meet the market demand that are single-family homes in non-single-family zoned areas. So they're still meeting demand. And I think when we look at this, it isn't about revenue. It isn't about, just one thing. It's about all of the things. And the market demand is one of the biggest things. There are folks that, again, when you start to say who wants to go there and why, there's a real reason they want to do that. A few other things I want to talk about, because one of the questions, and you probably won't mind, but anyway, somebody brought it up to me. I already mentioned them. We're talking about sales tax revenue. Like, what is the impact on sales tax revenue on an unoccupied STR? So if you take our current budget of $20 million divided by 26,300 homes, which is the number from the work session of the current housing units in the market, it's about $780 is the annual sales tax for the city of Madison that we get. So if you talk to owners of Airbnbs, their occupancies are 70, 80%. So the impact from a vacancy is minimal. The revenue that we see on lodging tax, I don't have all the numbers. We don't see them because we don't have these reports. But it's anywhere from $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a year that lodging tax revenue comes in. They also do pay higher property tax, which benefits the schools. It was mentioned about the schools. When these homes are out there, generally you don't have kids going into school. The question came up about the cap. Where did the cap come from? It was a direct idea to say we want to limit and protect the housing supply, the low-income housing supply in the city of Madison. 0.75 is an arbitrary number. It's anchored to something. So the anchoring point was when we looked at what we think is in the city of Madison, there's a low estimate of 50 and there's a high estimate of 165. We also expanded what a definition of an STR is, and that's also from feedback, to under 180 days. Under 180 days is anchored to the insurance definition of what is considered short-term rental. It's also anchored to what the U.S. government, federal government considers TDY. So we look at how do you anchor these. So when we look at the housing supply, the idea of 0.75, the less than 1%, is to say what is happening today and how do we maintain that. That's all we want to do, maintain what's happening today, and then add in the rules and regulations that addresses each and every one of the comments that came up here tonight. If you're concerned about parties and you're a host and you're allowing parties, guess what? You're going to get suspended and eventually not renewed. You can also be subject to violations. So all the, again, rules that we put in place were designed to address all that. I think I will pause there because I went on for quite a bit, and then I'll kind of address any further questions as they come up.
I'll go next, and no one wants to follow David because he's got like the beautiful mind over here. He's reciting all that by memory. Thank you all for your input. This was very valuable to hear your concerns. We appreciate the emails, the conversations. Everybody can agree on that, right? People like Madison with her story that she led off with, that's impactful, right? Eric, I don't know you, never spoken to you, but I've checked out your Facebook page. I've read your petition. I've read all the comments on there, right? So that stuff doesn't go unnoticed. Then you got people like Mary and Jonathan and Daniel who are having a serious investment in their lives. They're running a business, so we don't take this decision lightly, right? And unlike David, I do need to read off my notes because I can't remember all that stuff, right? But here it goes. Okay. One thing that's obvious to me and probably everyone is that STRs would provide a much-needed revenue source to our city to allow us to do the things we want to do for our community. Like David said, the numbers might be a little shaky, but it's easily over six figures by all estimates and close to $300K that we're bringing in on STRs. I'm also part of the Finance Committee, and I think I should be wired to try and find money where we can in order to increase and improve services to our residents. A regulated STR bar set at 190 would do that. I personally don't subscribe to the belief that STR properties are not well kept. In fact, I think they're more well kept than both long-term rentals and many single-family owned properties in the city. I don't believe that a decrease in safety is a proven and consistent concern with STRs. Complaints based on parties and associated noise, sure, definitely possible and probably likely. But I don't think violent offenders are purposely looking for a one-night stay in the heart of Madison. And also on a positive note, I have stayed in STRs. It's an attractive option as a vacationer. I've used them here in Alabama, Tennessee, Florida, North Carolina, Missouri, probably other states too that I'm not recalling. But a consistent and recurring theme among feedback I've received regarding short-term rentals is the concern that allowing them in single-family residential neighborhoods will erode neighborhood character and sense of community that have long distinguished Madison from surrounding communities. Residents repeatedly described to me that they chose Madison because of its reputation and as a family-oriented city where neighbors know one another and residents take pride in maintaining stable, connected communities. Many view STRs as fundamentally incompatible with that environment, and I agree. Constituents express concerns to me that as more homes are converted into short-term lodging, neighborhoods gradually transition from residential communities into transient accommodations, weakening the relationships and trust that make neighborhoods desirable places to live, and I agree with that point. Finally, many residents express concern that the proposed ordinance lacks sufficient safeguards to prevent the concentration of STRs within neighborhoods. The absence of anti-clustering provisions led many to question whether the city could effectively preserve neighborhood integrity once STRs become established. I don't think we can, and that concerns me for my district where I know we have non-HOA communities and streets where STRs already exist. District 4 looks to have a comparatively higher concentration of STRs than some other districts, specifically off the Mill and Sullivan Road area. I asked myself a question: would I be okay with living on a different street in my district where I had an STR next door to me and another STR pop up across the street from me? My answer to myself was no. Therefore, I don't support the ordinance as currently written. I would support a grandfathering provision for STRs currently operating in single-family neighborhoods for three primary reasons. One, because many of these owners are willing to do it the right way, and they aren't all out-of-state investors that don't live here. We heard such tonight from these people here that operate them. Two, because if we make STRs outright illegal in Madison and shut these people down, I just can't wrap my head around how that's a win for anybody. Three, we need their money, and they are willing to give it to us. After grandfathering those in, I think that STRs should be allowed in Madison, but not in single-family neighborhoods. I would support STRs in B1 areas, multi-use areas, T&D neighborhood centers, and in multifamily R4 areas. There's a mystique around grandfathering. If we grandfather in STRs that are currently operating, they don't get off scot-free. They pay the fees, they pay the dues, they pay everything else that everybody else is paying, and they're held to the same standards. So no one is going to get to be grandfathered in at zero cost. These people that are operating have to do what everybody else would have to do. Couple more things. If this is not the way we eventually want to go, if we want to allow them in single-family neighborhoods, we vote tonight collectively it passes, I would hope we would consider some strong anti-clustering provisions that are lacking within the Ordinance 2026-201, the ordinance that follows. To sum this up, I think we have a solid set of regulations in draft, and I so very much appreciate the time that everyone put into this draft. It's very well written. but I'm just against any new STRs in single-family neighborhoods. That's all I've got.
Can I ask, or if Megan could answer now with the clustering question? I'm wondering if this ordinance, if we were to start as like a template to kind of get a hold of what are we working with now, could that be added later?
Yes.
Okay. And thank you for your comments.
Why would we take that approach, though?
Well, for me, the STRs have already been operating unsupervised, unregulated. And so for me, the vote comes down to responsible oversight. It means putting rules, accountability, and enforcement in place. We've been discussing this since, I think our first work session was March 25th, and we had some great input. And just from what I've heard from people that's reached out to me from both sides, it gives more accountability for the city. We would know where those STRs are, so our, Chief Gandy would know where they are. When we start getting, if we get calls, we'll know who they are. You have someone that you can talk to within 30 minutes, right? They have to be available on the site within 30 minutes. There has to be a point of contact. There wasn't before. The ordinance includes safeguards such as permitting, business licensing, inspections, insurance, safety requirements, neighbor notification. I don't know if we had addressed that, but you have to notify your neighbors that if you're going to have an STR. There's parking standards, 24/7 local contact, and it also includes this cap, which I think was important for our growth. And also, again, I say this was already going on. Some people, we actually had someone come up and speak about it a little while ago that didn't know that it was illegal because it's not addressed in our ordinances. So this, to me, would give some safeguards, and it addresses the issues here. And so I'm wondering about the clustering part. If you start with something, then can we add it? And as we see what this looks like, because change happens, Madison has changed from back in the 1990s, and, someone talked about Space Command coming and FBI and how, people would like to see what Madison is like in a home, then we could provide that.
But one of the commenters tonight said she had 2 STRs open up near her home, and she would consider moving if there was a third. Why would we allow that trend to continue while we think about it?
So that was one comment, and that could possibly happen.
Okay. Any other?
Sure. I mean, I'll speak generally. So I conducted another poll since the last one the city put out. I went door to door to as many doors that didn't have no soliciting signs as I could. And I directed people to a page on my website where I listed a number of the regulations that have been proposed. I also mentioned the projected revenue of $300K annually for the city's budget. Nevertheless, despite all those things that have been explained tonight, 83% of respondents in subdivisions without an HOA opposed allowing STRs in zones for single-family dwellings. Also, a number of HOA residents were against this ordinance, enough that I don't think the majority of District 7 supports it. I disagree with this approach to closing the funding gaps that were mentioned earlier. To me, we should heed the demands of citizens, not visitors.
I would kind of add, to the point.
No, let's not clap. Let's not.
Clearly, it is a difficult decision. There are arguments on both sides. It can be made admirably on both sides. A couple quick things I want to answer that. There is no amnesty with this. There's a path to apply for the application, which includes paying past taxes. Okay, so there is no free ride on this. So if this is something that somebody wants to operate in the city of Madison, you have to follow the rules, which is, again, meeting the good market demand. So I don't think there is no free rides. I want to clarify that. Also want to clarify the fact that the fee is not an additional tax. When the city of Madison sets fees, we do it based on what is our cost. We do not collect profits off fees. We don't collect a profit from applications and things like that. We analyze what is our cost to provide that service and how do we meet that. So there is no extra tax on it. The revenue funding gap, a lot of times when I look at, and again, I know it's 300,000 today, but as you've expanded it to midterm and as you've expanded it to ensure that everybody's actually collecting and paying the tax, could that be 400,000 to 500,000? Probably. I think a lot of times what could be missing on the surveys are, okay, what would you like to cut? If you don't like it, I get it. You don't want it, period, although lots of other people do want it, but you also want parks. You want our first responders taken care of. You want roads. So I understand that. And there's no easy way to just come up with $500,000. When we look over and over and over, sales tax has declined. SSUT has gone up. Lodging taxes have declined. So we are at a budget deficit in excess of $9 million a year. 3 years ago, we had to transfer $1 million to the general fund. Then it was like $2 million, and then this year it's scheduled to be around $6 million. That's to meet our 15% minimum. So I want to say this isn't an issue of just demand, but it is an issue of revenue, and Madison has the ability to meet a demand in a responsible way. So I do understand not everybody loves it. I get it. I have rental homes right next to me. They're not short-term right now, but I've got rental home. I got a neighbor right next to me that's putting his house up for rent. I've got one across the street. I know some neighbors. I don't know all neighbors. And so I think a lot of times the issues that we address are issues that are persistent in our society today, regardless if it's an STR, long-term rental, or just your neighbor. There is, if we were to decide that we want to shut this down and we want to not allow them in single-family homes, there are very few neighborhoods that it would actually be permitted in. So we are essentially shutting it down. We would have to then start the litigation, just like Huntsville has, and they've been successful. I mean, I think to the point, if we want to shut them down, it will cost us money from a legal standpoint, but in a settlement, as long as we can collect back taxes, we'll probably break even, and we will shut it down, but we will have lost that revenue stream. That's going to take time and resources. I would say, as we learn, the ordinance, maybe it's not perfect today. Maybe it should have anti-clustering, maybe it shouldn't. I don't know the answer to that. Maybe, I don't even know if you can limit out of state. I think I don't think from a property rights standpoint, there's the ability to say, you can only buy it if you live here. Now, we can combat that with saying, you can only operate one under the ordinance that you have a local person within 30 minutes. So we're trying to meet what people have asked. There are a number of texts every day that I get, would you like to sell your home? I'll just tell you, never do it. They're offering you 20, 30% below market value. If you want to sell the home, go to a realtor and they'll get you a much better price.
I want to add to that, not only is it the revenue, but the people that were against the STRs, the main concern was safety and safety, if you combine it all. And I felt like this ordinance was a good start to protect.
I'll say that in 10 years of being on council, this has been the most difficult decision. It is so complicated. It's like a spider's web to me. It's just so complicated, it's so convoluted. Because on the one hand, you have bought a property and you've made an investment in that property and you're looking to the future to provide for your retirement, for your children, that sort of thing. And so I really am reluctant to tell people how they need to spend their money. And I believe that this ordinance puts in a huge number of regulations and commitments. We will not be grandfathering anybody in, and we'll be getting back taxes on every Airbnb property. We will find out how long you've had that Airbnb property, and we will calculate what we think the lodging taxes will be. And before you get a license to operate, we will be getting a check from you. And we will be inspecting that Airbnb home. We will make sure that it has CO2 detectors and smoke detectors and has the safeguards in mind to keep our visitors or people who live here may need to have an Airbnb. If something happens with your house and you need some temporary lodging, I don't want to go to a hotel. I've stayed in Airbnbs in all of the states except Missouri, but I'll throw in South Carolina and Florida, and that for me, for our family, has been the best thing to do. I mean, I just like the Airbnb environment. But going specifically to this ordinance, we have put so many safeguards in place to protect the people in that neighborhood. Mrs. Milliken, I think, has left, but she should have made a call when they are driving up on yards and they're pouring gravel in the front yard and things like that. There you are. Call. Please call. Call code enforcement. If there's an issue, Mrs. Daly, the grass is high. Call code enforcement. They're serious on these 3 strikes. 3 strikes and you are out. Again, this has just been very difficult. It's a very difficult decision. I have to look personally what is in the best interest of the city with regard to protecting the city's asset to avoid any type of litigation. And I'm not going to go there, but I'm thinking about it. And I'll just say this story one time real quick. Somebody previously was going to run for council and asked me how many times I had been sued. And I said, I have never been sued. How many times have you been sued? And she said, well, I've been on the school board for 10 years. I've been sued over 35 times, okay? So I don't want to be sued. I don't want to sue anybody. I don't want anybody to sue me. But I think that this ordinance protects the property value of the investor and of the neighborhood, and you know that you just have to make a phone call and say, hey, there's a party. Hey, I smell something I shouldn't be smelling, and our fine officers from MPD will come and they will take care of it, and that will be strike 1. So that's kind of where I am.
I do want to ask one question that I honestly don't know the answer to. I think we all agree on the $300,000, right, is approximately where we're thinking at on this. But as far as the number of STRs operating in the city, I've heard anything as low as 40 and as high as 150 to close to the cap that we're recommending. So do we have a definitive range of where it could be?
The range is a bit broad. It's about 65 up to 150.
65 to 150?
Yes.
Okay.
I tried to back into it too. Go ahead, sorry.
We don't have a definitive number.
I do think we will know that soon if this were to pass. As you back into the math, it's really hard even to try to make that equate, because are you a full-time SDR, are you a short-time SDR, what's your occupancy, ADR? I mean, it's very complicated to get.
Isn't Decatur's still trying to figure it out too, right? As they're having people apply near the window of their period. So you wouldn't really truly know the number. It's impossible to know until that period is over with, so I understand.
I do want to clarify, just for purposes of understanding, Megan, correct me if I'm wrong, on the back taxes. This isn't a council decision, it's state law. Council does not have the ability to abate this type of tax.
That's correct.
Okay, just for clarity, it's not a council overreach.
So I guess a couple of things, and fully understanding, if you have one bad STR next to you, it's like one bad taste in your mouth causes that whole dish to go bad. I get it. And, I will say, I really want to applaud those owners who are good owners and managers of properties and go above and beyond. Constantly, when I hear people complain about I hear complaints about rentals, and a lot of times they'll be expressing it as short-term rentals, and kind of like David has said and others, it's like, often I go, all of those problems are even worse. I mean, most short-term rental properties that want to be rented effectively want to be presentable. They want to look good in their community. I had one owner that called me and has a very nice, distinctive property that is already, he already does it as a short-term rental. He understands kind of where he's at right now. In his comment, he goes, hey, I'm considering a lot of improvements, and he's not telling me this as a lie. This is a personal friend. And he says, but if I'm not going to be able to do this anymore, this is what this is what I'm using this property for. I will have to reevaluate. I will probably convert it to something different, like a long-term or another option that's out there. And, you know, he's like, hey, but if it's going to be a short-term, I want it to pop. I want it to be the first house that people see when they look at these neighborhoods. I think a lot of short-term rentals that I've experienced personally, I too have rented some, they're great properties. When you're seeing a rundown property that looks like it got left in the 70s, I'm going to challenge that those are often not short-term rentals, but long-term or an owner occupied that just for some reason, and sometimes it's health, and there's some very unfortunate reasons that happens, that properties are not maintained. What I think we need is tonight, to me, we were setting forth a framework that would provide us some guidelines to work within and start to manage this. I too have often sat and wondered at night about, you know, should we do density? I know some other properties are doing density, and I know some people, hey, maybe we should ask these other municipalities. I would go back, we had our first work session on February 25th, then we had another session on May 11th, maybe we had one on March 11th, or maybe I got that date confused in there. But some of the information that our planning and development and legal provided to us was going and looking across all the major cities in Alabama, like the top 10, or I think it actually was broader than the top 15, telling us what each of them was doing. We didn't start doing this sometime like in March or April. It has been a long, even the previous council had started some of their homework and had already tasked staff to do some of this work. There's been a ton of work going on. I'm like, I get some people saying, you should wait, we just heard. I'm sorry, council's been working since we came on in November on this topic. I don't know how else to say that just continuing to kick the can down the road is giving us, to me, a worse base to do enforcement as we go forward, because why did you let it go so long? We're trying to start today by setting a good framework that we can work. Kind of the question to Megan, if we look at it, we start to go, hey, we're starting to see this really uncomfortable concentration, then we have the ability. One of the things, I guess, and I'm kind of all over the map, but one thing that is very difficult to change is our zoning. That takes like 60 days and all kinds of work to do. To change our ordinances is a little bit, and to change our permitting is a little bit tighter. We can do that a little bit more reactive from what I understand, and please correct me if I'm wrong. So things like density and stuff, we can add in if we start to see that being a problem. And I think from what I'm hearing is a lot of us are wanting to say, we need to start looking at that at day one. But if we start now, it gives us a framework to work within and something that's enforceable. Because I have a feeling as we sit and wait, the courts will take more of an action of like, you did nothing. And then if we go too strong, then there is a potential that the courts will say you allowed it to happen for so long anyway. So I think getting a framework established tonight is key, and if we need to, you know, it might be an aircraft carrier, but even they turn sooner or later. But I think we do have the ability to make those adjustments as we go, and to really sit down and do that. And I want to applaud. I'm going to say personally the guys who showed the men and women who showed up who are owners, because I honestly did not expect any to be here because of the sentiment that was online about it, thinking that these people are walking into a bear's den. And so for those of you who braved the day and showed up, and I want to thank everybody else for being respectful and listening. And hopefully you realize that are there some corporate entities out there that are buying up homes? Maybe. But I'm going to tell you, 400 homes a month are in the market, are on the market in Madison. We're talking about half of that being allowed to operate as STRs. Are we really like taking all the housing out of the market when there's 400 a month Now granted, some of those were on last month. The average time to market, you can look it up, is I think 120 days. There's some realtors in here that can probably go, yeah, no, you're close or you're crazy. I've been told that before. But we are not going to deplete the housing market with this kind, the biggest problem with affordable housing, one is the current interest rate. I wish we could all fix that. Two is we are in a highly desirable area. I don't want to fix that. I want us to maintain being highly desirable. But I do hear, and I appreciate people who express their concerns and stuff. They're real. I go, there's a point where perceptions are real. And when you have one bad STR next to you, I get it. We have to shut those down. If an STR is a bad one, we got to step in, and we got to reward the ones who are good and make good neighbors. Sorry, I probably wandered all over the landscape.
No, but that was good. Any other? No? Mayor?
Well, first of all, thank you to everyone who spoke tonight. I have been taking a lot of notes. Ms. Kelly, I was really struck by your comments about special events because I'm going to add one more, graduation in Tuscaloosa. I can tell you that I know people that have reached out to parents of seniors who said, hey, if you want to rent my house, and it's totally under the radar. And you're right, what they were charging, I just had a graduate, could have funded a vacation. And so you're right. There are a number of things that, I hadn't even thought of as we were looking at this. And one of the things that I'm hearing loud and clear, and believe me, we're struggling with it ourselves, is the out-of-state property owner. They have property protections. They can purchase just like you can purchase. And so we cannot restrict them currently with the way that the laws are constructed. That presents a challenge when we're trying to clean up certain areas of the city, and we have been providing notice, and we are working toward that. And one of the things about the proposal tonight is that local person that can get there in 30 minutes and deal with the situation. And when it comes to the density requirement, I will certainly commit to studying that and other cities that have put that in. And some of you who have expressed concern about what's happening right now, where someone next door or someone across the street, I'm not sure from what I heard this evening that everyone's going to meet the requirements of this new ordinance. Some of them may not decide they can operate when we are placing so many restrictions. So I'm not clear yet what the density is going to be, but we can certainly learn from Decatur that has just put that on. I can certainly come back to this council with any proposed amendment that we think makes sense along a framework, but it's hard to do that if you don't know what your framework's going to be. I think the other thing that I've heard loud and clear tonight is that there has been an utter lack of enforcement. And there are things operating in this city that I did not realize were operating in the way that they are operating. And if you see crime occurring, call the police. They will address it. If you're smelling marijuana in your neighborhood, you should be calling the police. And they do answer, and they are outstanding in terms of responding to calls. And so I definitely take that seriously in terms of what you're requesting, and you should be able to expect as citizens of Madison. You want whatever ordinances we do have on the books, you want those enforced. And I have people asking me all the time, why are these properties looking this way? Well, we're notifying them. We're assessing liens. We're mowing grass. We're doing things. We're demolishing buildings, if you're paying attention to what our agendas have been recently, if they're not safe and they're not meeting our code. So if this passes tonight, then it will be my responsibility to make sure that the laws are enforced in this city and that we follow up. And I certainly will report back. And Eric, I have to tell you that I met with you separately
we've got to get you on a committee. Your energy, and those of you who, want to help us, there are places that we can plug you in to get active. And so I really do appreciate everyone in whichever way this goes. This is not the only version or iteration. This is the first attempt to address something that has not been enforced and taken care of, and we need to take care of it. We can't ignore it any longer. We have to put some type of regulation and then follow what we say we're going to do.
All right, very good. Okay, no other comments? So to recap, we had a motion for Mr. Beer and a second for Mr. McKay. May I have the vote, please?
May I?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just briefly.
Sure.
I want to clarify that the motion and second was for the zoning ordinance piece, the first ordinance.
Yes, for 175.
175, and then we'll need a separate
Oh.
motion and second on the second ordinance.
Right.
Number 201.
Absolutely, yes. So this is for a motion from Mr. Beer, second from Mr. McKay for 175.
Councilmember Beer,
Aye.
Councilmember McKay,
Nay.
Council President Robleski,
Aye.
Councilmember Goodson,
Aye.
Councilmember Lessman,
Aye.
Councilmember White, Councilmember Jackson.
Nay.
Okay, the ordinance passes. Thank you. Now, we have ordinance 2026-201.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion for Mr. Beer and a second for Mr. Goodson. Do we want to talk about this?
I do have something to say
Sure.
about this one. And I'll keep it brief. So there's, I think, a lot to be said in favor of this ordinance. But like we talked about earlier, I do have concerns about the lack of a minimum distance between SDRs. I'm worried that it may be difficult to undo the clustering that could ensue if we pass the measure as written. However, given that the council just allowed SDRs in all residential areas, I understand the need to enact regulations as soon as possible. In my opinion, there's enough right about this ordinance to move forward.
Okay, very good.
So one point you had, Kenneth, though, is that if we estimate it's 65 right now, could be the low end, we could have 190 pretty soon. If we don't have the clustering provision in there, then an entire street theoretically could have STRs on it. So that scares me right there. So, but there is a lot of right about this is too, right? We need the police and we need the regulation. My question for legal is, we passed it just a second ago, right, collectively. If we don't pass this, how does that work? Is there no policing and then we have STRs everywhere?
Yeah, and that's my concern at this point. I want an amendment, hopefully in the near future, to address density, but yeah.
Yeah, and I would say I'd certainly want to review it, right? I mean, I think let's get data and facts and figure out what's the right answer. And if that's the right answer to do that, I think you're going to get a lot of support. So I'd certainly agree that we can review it and build on things going forward.
Very good. May I have the vote, please?
Councilmember Beer,
Aye.
Councilmember Goodson,
Aye.
Council President Robleski,
Aye.
Councilmember McKay,
Nay.
Councilmember Lessman,
Aye.
Councilmember White, Councilmember Jackson.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The ordinance passes. All right, now we'll move into department reports and start with building.
Recess.
It's not because of you that they're leaving.
Good evening. I have a proposed ordinance number 2026-210, amending Article 5, Section 8-101, the Code of Ordinances of the City of Madison relating to the issuance of certificates of occupancy.
Can't hear.
For fees. This is a.
Can you talk into the microphone? I can't hear it.
They're checking it.
Yeah,
Okay.
All right, is it, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
there we
that's
go,
better.
much better.
Repeat it, or?
No, I think you're good.
This is the second reading.
Yeah, second reading, very good. May I have a motion and?
I'm sorry, we were
We're on
distracted.
building,
So moved.
ordinance 210. This is Kip, he's our building director.
Motion to approve. I'm sorry.
Second.
He's on
Okay, I
yet.
have a motion from Mr. Goodson and a second from Mrs. Lessman. Any comments? Seeing none, may I have the vote, please?
Councilmember Goodson.
Aye.
Councilmember Lessman.
Aye.
Council President Robleski.
Aye.
Councilmember Beer.
Aye.
Councilmember McKay.
Aye.
Councilmember White, Councilmember Jackson.
Aye.
Thank you, the ordinance passes. Thank you, Kip. Next up, facilities.
We still love you, Kip.
Sorry, man.
Facilities and Grounds Department has one resolution for your consideration, Resolution 2026-223R, authorizing change order 1 to the agreement with Nolan Van Pearson Architectural Design Service for the Animal Control Facility, increasing architectural fee to $46,284 to be paid from our budget.
Motion to approve?
Second.
So the reason for this is it's a percentage basis.
Oh, okay, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I knew there was some quirk to that one. but
Yeah,
okay.
I asked Gerald some
It's
questions
not a
earlier.
change in the contract value of the building, it's strictly architectural fees.
Yeah, hey, thanks for setting me straight earlier, too.
No, that's fine.
So we have a motion and a second, right?
I got a motion from Billy and a second from David. Any comments or questions? May I have
Answered.
the, go ahead. I'm sorry, did you?
Answered.
Nope. Okay. May I have the vote, please?
Councilmember Goodson?
Aye.
Councilmember Beer?
Aye.
Council President Robleski?
Aye.
Councilmember McKay?
Aye.
Councilmember Lessman?
Aye.
Councilmember White? Councilmember Jackson?
Aye.
Thank you. The
Gerald,
resolution
not
passes.
related to that specific, how close are we on the animal
Waiting on
control?
good weather so we can finish paving.
Okay.
Thank you,
The
sir.
building is 99.5% ready on the inside. We're just needing some dry weather to pave.
We'll try to get that for you. It's on order.
And we'll do a ribbon cutting or a
Oh, yeah.
celebration? Awesome.
So we can get it.
Excellent. Hello, HR.
So a resolution, or was it Resolution 2026-208R, approval of a new environmental specialist position for the engineering department. Essentially, Michael is giving up one of his current PEs and changing it to something with a focus on stormwater to help manage those funds that come into the state, or I'm sorry, comes into the city from the state.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion for Mrs. Lessman and a second for Mr. Goodson. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, may I have the vote, please?
Councilmember Lessman?
Aye.
Councilmember Goodson?
Aye.
Council President Robleski?
Aye.
Councilmember Beer?
Aye.
Councilmember McKay?
Aye.
Councilmember White? Councilmember Jackson?
Aye.
Thank you. The resolution passes. Thank you, ma'am. IT.
Hello, I have one item for tonight. Proposed ordinance number 2026-217. This is approving addition of Chapter 15 to the City of Madison Personnel Policies and Procedures to provide computer and artificial intelligence use policies.
Motion to approve?
It's a first reading.
And first reading.
We will see him back here on July 13th.
I thought it said first reading.
It's okay. It is.
It does, and it doesn't have a date.
It's all good. What? It's a first reading?
First reading, yes.
Right, so he'll be back on July 13th. Okay.
One more time. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thanks, Chris.
Planning. Are we postponing this?
I thought we still voted on motion. Don't we still?
I think that the legal.
Y'all pay attention. Billy.
Sorry.
So this is the annexation request that the applicant has asked to withdraw, and it's not a public hearing.
Right.
Do you want them to take a motion?
Motion to table indefinitely.
Postpone indefinitely would.
Okay. I have a
Postpone
motion to
indefinitely.
postpone definitely. Do I have a
Indefinitely.
second? I have a second. I have a motion for Mr. Goodson and a second for Mr. Jackson to postpone indefinitely. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mary Beth.
Chief Gandy.
We got a vote.
Oh, I'm sorry.
to vote on
Yes, we
that.
should. I'm sorry. May I have the vote, please?
Council President Goodson? I mean,
Aye.
It's been a long night.
let's go back. Councilmember Goodson?
Aye.
Councilmember Jackson?
Aye.
Council President Robleski?
Aye.
Councilmember Beer?
Aye.
Councilmember McKay?
Aye.
Councilmember Lessman?
Aye.
Councilmember White?
Thank you. The ordinance is postponed indefinitely. Now, Chief Gandy.
Thanks, Chief.
Good evening. I'm here for resolution number 2026-224R, and that's authorizing the mayor to execute a master services agreement with This Gen 911 for no-cost cloud-based skills assessment platform for public safety dispatcher recruitment and evaluation. Apparently what we've got goes all the way back to the 90s, so we need to do a little bit of an updating to assess people who are going to be would-be dispatchers.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Beer and a second from Mr. Jackson.
So how is this no cost?
It's something that we were able to work out.
Something in there, just, okay.
Yeah,
We need more of those, Chief.
I'm working on it.
Thank you for doing your part. May I have the vote, please?
Councilmember Beer,
Aye.
Councilmember Jackson,
Aye.
Council President Robleski,
Aye.
Councilmember Goodson,
Aye.
Councilmember McKay,
Aye.
Councilmember Lessman,
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Thank you. The resolution passes.
And then resolution number 2026-220R, and that's authorizing submission of an application for the Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation for grant funding in the amount of $23,766.24 for the purchase of automatic external defibrillators, AEDs, with no matching funds required. Now, this is part of a plan we've worked on for a while as part of the first responder concept where our officers would carry AEDs in the cars and be able to respond out, knowing that it may take a while for fire department and rescue to get there.
So, motion to approve.
Second.
Motion for Mr. Goodson and a second for Mr. Jackson.
Chief, these would be carried in vehicles?
Yes. We've got 6 now, primarily in the supervisor's vehicles, but this would allow us to get more to spread out to the uniform officers themselves.
Fabulous.
Awesome.
Excellent. May I have the vote, please?
Councilmember Goodson.
Aye.
Councilmember Jackson,
Aye.
Council President Robleski,
Aye.
Councilmember Beer,
Aye.
I'm sorry,
Aye.
Councilmember McKay,
Aye.
Councilmember Lessman.
I said aye.
We may be getting a little giddy. Thank you. The resolution passes. Recreation, boy, are we glad to see you.
Good evening. I have resolution number 2026-225-R, authorizing an amendment to professional services agreement with Valerie and Joshua Harp, doing business as Val Travel Group.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Goodson and a second from Mrs. Lessman. Any comments or
These
questions?
are the services that are out at the community center that they can take advantage of?
They offer senior trips.
Yeah.
This is just updating their agreement with the way we take money and report back to the city.
It'll be a more efficient way for it to go through Parks and Rec.
Correct.
Very good. Any other comments or questions? May I have the vote, please?
Councilmember Goodson,
Aye.
Councilmember Lessman,
Aye.
Council President Robleski,
Aye.
Councilmember Beer,
Aye.
Councilmember McKay,
Aye.
Councilmember White, Councilmember Jackson.
Aye.
Thank you. The resolution passes. Thank you, Corey. Miss Yvonne, glad to see you.
All right, I have one item on tonight's agenda. It's resolution number 2026-226-R. This is a resolution, this resolution exempts hearing aids from the city of Madison sales and use tax. The city has already exempted hearing aids from sales tax. However, the Alabama Department of Revenue requires the city to update this resolution to ensure it is properly reflected on their website.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion for Mr. Goodson and a second for Mrs. Lessman. Do we need to update this annually then?
Probably.
Probably? Okay, it's late.
I mean, the last council did something just like this, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm just wondering if we could do it in perpetuity, that we wouldn't have to update this, but that's for another day. So I have a motion for,
Okay.
go on.
This resolution specifies that it's effective this year until 2029.
Oh, okay, good, till
Thank you, Megan.
2029, excellent.
You're a hero.
That's great. That is really good, speaking personally. Okay. May I have the vote, please?
Councilmember Goodson,
Aye.
Councilmember Lessman,
Aye.
Council President Robleski,
Aye.
Councilmember Beer,
Aye.
Councilmember McKay,
Aye.
Councilmember White, Councilmember Jackson.
Aye.
Thank you, the resolution passes. Thank you, Ms. Yvonne. Any miscellaneous business or announcements? May I have?
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn. We are adjourned. Thank you all.